Hello, everybody. We're back. It's been a few weeks. We've been a little slow over the summer, so you probably need this reminder that InterBrews has a Patreon page, and you can help support this very podcast that you're listening to right now. For as little as $1 an episode, you can help bring this quality beer-soaked audio to you even more. I mean, you're already getting it because I'm doing it for free. But if you're just looking to, spend some money and help out the craft beer scene here in Houston, go to interbrews.com/Patreon or patreon.com/interbrews. Either way, we'll get to that page, and you can help support the show. Or if not, that's cool too, because I'm still going to do the show. But, money. So anyway, that's it. Let's do a show. How about that?
Stewart Productions!
Well, that was the old one, but it's fine.
Hi, my name is Alex McDonald, and I'm the brewer over here at Astral Brewing, where we are recording this episode of InterBrews.
This is InterBrews.
I should probably take that old Stewart Productions intro off if I'm not going to use it anymore because I just hit it. But Alex, that's fine. Yeah. You did a great job.
It was new to me.
Yeah,
so.
no, okay. Well, there you go. So we were all talking about what you were like, what if I screw up? And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. And then I'm the one that screwed it up because it's been, 3 weeks since I've done a show. Mike, welcome back. Finally.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm back.
Enough of you. Alex, welcome for the first time on InterBrews, Astral Brewing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us. This is a fantastic tap room we're in. The air conditioning spilling down on us, cooling the backs of our heads.
Yes.
Our necks.
We turn it on for privileged guests, but
thank you. I don't know how we got that status, but greatly appreciate it. So, Astral Brewing, one of Houston's newest breweries.
Yeah. We opened our doors on March 1st.
March 1st. That seems like a long time ago in some ways, and in some ways,
for me, it's ages ago. But I think regular people, that's 4 months ago.
Yeah. That's it. You're right. Your math is correct. It hasn't been, but yes, quarter of a year.
Yeah, it's been a intense, wild ride, but
so if you had that,
glad to be here.
If you had that quarter of a year to do again, was there anything you would change? Retrospective. Let's go. Let's start with the retrospective. We've never done that.
If I think as we've brewed more and more recipes, we've improved our skill set, and of course, we go back in time and just know how to be like some of the tricks and tips and other things like that we picked up along the way, and go back to day one. You could have maybe had some even cooler beers, but I'm really happy where we are right now, and I think we started with some strong selections, and I think we've gotten better since then. So hopefully we'll keep improving.
Yes. Well, okay. So we got to ask about background. It's your first episode, so we got to get it all. This is audio, Houston beer industry history, being set in digital stone for the people to hear millennia from now.
Right.
Perhaps.
I assume this is where they're going to go for all their historical archives.
It's like a time capsule for your ear hole.
Yeah.
Let's print that T-shirt, Mike.
Done.
So what is your background? How did you get to the point where you're like, let's open a brewery and brew awesome beer?
Yeah, so my background is I'm a protein biochemist. So I did my PhD in biochemistry at University of California, Santa Cruz. So go Slugs. And then...
slugs?
Yeah, slugs. Banana slugs is the mascot. Yes. So they're fierce. There's not... sports at Santa Cruz is more recreational.
Sure.
If,
the ultimate Frisbee team gets more viewer,
Yeah, exactly. And maybe beach volleyball's their big jam. But so the slugs are great for that kind of stuff. But so from there, I did prion research, which is a protein that causes mad cow disease, unrelated to beer. But turns out if you go to grad school, and especially in chemistry departments or geology departments and things like that, it seems like every other grad student homebrews. And so while I was at grad school, I met a number of friends, including my friend Eric Evans, who was an avid homebrewer, and he kind of started teaching me the various techniques along with my then girlfriend, future wife. So between the two of them, kind of picked up the homebrewing, and then of course I went off the deep end real quick and started reading every blog or post or anything to kind of get information, and just started brewing, more than either of my girlfriend at the time and Eric did. So I quickly started brewing way too much, but
that seems to be the trend. Maybe not quite on a PhD level, but Mike, you did that. No, I got you into homebrewing, and then you took off.
Exactly. Not
you start reading everything you could or whatever, and then you now brew more often than I do
at this level. not here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Keep,
I said that.
keep working at it, and you'll get there one day.
Yeah.
So
I'm doing it about 5 years now. I
Yeah.
look back, looking at some old pictures, like 2015.
nice.
It's like my backyard with you and
Mhm.
backyard
nice.
just.
Yeah.
It's
Time
been a
flies,
while.
right?
Yeah, you know, I think I started, I want to say 8 years ago, because basically it was like one of my first dates with my girlfriend was like, oh, let's like brew a beer together.
She homebrewed, and then she got you into
She
it.
got
like,
me into it, and then I also went to Eric to get all the details, the biochemistry.
What was that first style that y'all brewed together?
We brewed an IPA from the Seven Bridges homebrew club, like kit from it was like an organic homebrew shop in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And we brewed an IPA. I think it had like Cascade. We took the dry hop option. We're like, ooh, we're gonna be crazy here, and dry hopped it with some Cascade, which back then was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool hop.
It's still a cool hop.
I mean, I have a place in my heart for it.
Yeah.
First dry hop I ever did. But, you know, like you brew an IPA and you're first starting out, and of course you bottle it. It's like super oxidized because you open the bucket and drop hops in, and you're like, oh, that'll be great. And then you don't really know that, like, oh, you just like ruined your beer by doing that, by opening the thing up, that the beer's gone because it oxidized it. I know now.
Love over IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you and Kate brewed a beer together? She hasn't.
I mean, she's been over while we've done it, but I wouldn't
actually-
say brewing a beer together.
She hasn't put her hands on your hops.
No.
Okay.
She tolerates you brewing, sounds like. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
There's that. Yeah. There's either side. That's my wife. Like it started to take over. There's always. See, I think for me, it's been the push pull of this podcast. Like that's my thing. I've got like a whole room for my studio at home.
Right.
And so it's like she was like, pick one that you're gonna really.
Dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean not
the podcast or brewing.
both. That's what I'm saying, because it was taking like the home brewing was taking over cabinets in the
garage.
kitchen and
I
the
see.
garage.
It's a
and
footprint issue that your footprint
Yes.
is too large
Yes.
compared to her
At the
footprint.
house.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like you gotta upset. You know, if you're gonna keep expanding, pick a line. So now I've been kind of in a whole. I've been doing like ciders and stuff more recently.
Yeah, ciders don't. You can just kind of buy a jug or some sort of carboy and just fill them with.
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
And it's actually that way on the professional scale as well. You don't need to buy a brew system. You just need to buy fermenters. And
for ciders.
Yeah. So like Houston Cider Company
Yeah.
has just very, very large fermenters, and they're able to make some really cool cider that way.
Yeah.
They don't need a brew system to do it.
I'm surprised there's not more. Like I feel like cider's been kind of starts and stops as far as like really taking off in this area.
For a while it was I know in America like #1 growth area for like much more than beer, but that was also because it was so small that there was a lot of room for it to grow.
Yeah.
It's probably its ceiling is a little bit smaller than beer is, so
Yeah.
growth is not this. That's like slope versus your point position and stuff like that. But it was if there wasn't a lot of competition, you opened a cidery. There's like there's no reasonable competition, and we've seen that in Houston with Houston Cider Company. Have done very well for themselves because there isn't a whole lot of competition, local competition. So
Yeah.
that being said, there's 30 breweries and one cidery, so there's still people who prefer beer, but hey, it's a good place to be if you're the one that's making the cider.
That's true. Very true. Then those hard seltzer people jumped in the game.
Yeah, that's the newest trend, right? I think hard seltzer is this year's fad. I don't think that again has that huge of a ceiling, but the marketing lore is that millennials really care about their calories or something, and these hard ciders, that's what I've heard, but I'm like, I feel like that's just marketing.
Yeah.
That's marketing, whatever, maybe.
I don't think people get millennials or Gen Z. I think
think
people throw around these terms.
And marketing people just use them, but what does that mean? Because you're describing a whole group of people as a monolith when you're like, millennials like to do this, but it's like, well, millennials is a lot of different people have different tastes and different things.
Yeah,
and,
I think it was some guy that saw his boss eyes crossed when he said, we should be on social media, and he, some guy, they're just that old school guy that's like, I don't know anything about it, I want to do anything about it. His eyes kind of crossed, and he lost it. He's like, oh, okay, well, millennials and blah 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 blah, and he bought it and just kept paying him. He's like, that's the line. And people picked up on that
because it's like, I don't understand that millennial stuff, so here's some money and just get me the millennials.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah, and you see a few articles on Forbes or something like that, and he's like, oh, it must be true. And
Right,
so they just keep
They
going.
put it in an article. They're for millennials are a thing. Yeah.
I don't know, but whatever. But beer.
Yeah.
We have beers in front of us.
Yeah. I provided you guys with a selection of beers.
So first, Mike,
yeah.
first on the tally is actually the last on the list.
Yeah.
The first in our heart.
Mm-hmm.
Your Kolsch.
Yes.
Let's talk Kolsch.
Yeah,
Kolsch style.
Kolsch. So Kolsch are historically from Cologne or Köln, as I say, or I can't speak German, but someone who can speak German would take that and understand maybe what it meant. But yeah, Cologne, Germany. It's the sort of the style of the city. And I'm trying to remember I hope I'm not butchering this. I believe the sort of sister city of Cologne is Dusseldorf. I hope I'm not getting this wrong. And that's where there's another beer right over there. The alt beer, I believe, is from Dusseldorf.
And they call it Dusseldorfer? Is that the one they call it Dusseldorf?
No, I thought it was alt beer. So these are.
I think it has dual names.
Oh, maybe that
Maybe.
could totally be the case.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I read
But
a bunch of books a while back.
This is the one from Cologne, and of my personal preference of the two. This one's going to be the lighter one. It's going to have lighter malts. The alt beer has kind of some more crystal or more Munich malt in it. So this is a German style Kolsch. We're definitely, but put some American spin on it. So it's going to be a little bit more bitter than maybe something you would find in Cologne, and a little bit more hoppy. Although everything you get in America typically that's imported from there has sat in a boat or something like that. So there's always the question of what we get in America. Is it a true representation of the style, or is it what imported Kolsch is like? And so people try to brew, try to sample some of this Kolsch. I'm going to rebrew that. Well, don't make it that hoppy. Well, maybe that's because it faded on the boat. And you don't quite, that's like people go like, oh, so much better.
That.
Yeah, it's so much better in Europe. Well, because it's aged in the, sitting on a hot boat. There's not air conditioned or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're sort of just a little bit tweaked it, just a little bit more hops, expressive, kind of aroma and stuff like that. Kind of thinking, well, what would a really fresh Kolsch kind of be like from Germany? And so this is what we came up with, and it's we used for the grist or the grains. We used a blend of Barca, the Barca line of malts from Wehrmann, which is so they have regular Pilsner malt and they have like Barca Pilsner.
Okay.
And Barca Pilsner is like a heritage malt strain, and it's like I guess it's not quite as like the final product's not as well modified or anything like that, but it has a lot more character. If you taste the individual, I apologize, I don't have them here, which I could share you like the actual the barley, but it has more of like this just interesting flavor to it. It's not quite as plain as the regular Pilsner is.
Yeah.
So we use this Barca Pils and then they also use the same strain to make a Vienna and a Munich malt. Put all that together and you get just a beer that just has a lot more character in the malt, like just a more interesting malt base. We blend a little bit of the regular Pilsner because we originally did it with all Barca and it was just almost like a little too much. And directions we just pulled it back just a tad. So we do like a 70-30 blend of the Barca and the regular Pilsner malt.
There you go, Mike. Didn't you just brew a Kolsch?
Oh, not just.
Well, are you in the process?
No.
It's
I mean,
already done?
I have.
Is it ready?
No.
When did you brew it?
Oh, it's done.
Oh, I
a
thought
long
you
time
were
ago.
Oh, we're
Right.
fine.
It's finished.
It's finished. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
These
Is
things
it-
have limited lifespans.
I know. I thought. Was that you I was talking to about brewing a Kolsch? I don't know. How long ago was it? It was like
I don't know.
a
I think
long
I
time
just
ago?
no. I just finished it
Okay. So yeah.
No.
months
Do
ago.
you still have some bottles left, or is
No, it was in a keg.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, gotcha.
I finished it.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's done.
This time of year,
Yeah.
Kolsch is great. This is the beer of this time of year is actually my go-to beer because it's
Yeah.
kind of light, it's simple,
Delicious.
We have lots of other beers that are cool. And I have have a glass of those or whatever. But this is the one I'm like, oh, I could have several of these, and
Yes.
it's just really, really.
It's like the real life beer. Like we're just doing real life
Everyday things.
paying bills. I need Now we're done with work. Let's sit here and have a.
Yeah. I mean, this is what St. Arnold's calls their Kolsch like the lawnmower.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you can see why they
That
call
was
it one that.
yeah. I found a recipe like a knockoff. That's the one I did.
Did like a
It was
lawnmower?
a lawnmower knockoff recipe.
Nice.
This is where I throw out the limited knowledge I have. It's a appellation, Kolsch. If it's not brewed in Cologne, it's not. It can be called a Kolsch style.
Right.
But if it has
Like
has to be-
champagne and
yes,
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's
Wine.
another one. There's champagne and
Muscat, is that one of those regional ones?
something like that.
Gosh, I don't know.
But anyway, if it's not brewed in Cologne, it's just a Kolsch style, like a sparkling wine versus champagne.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I said knockoff. It's a knockoff.
No. Well, I'm saying even St. Arnold's is not a Kolsch; it's a Kolsch style.
Gotcha. Oh, theirs is. Okay.
Right. Anything brewed out of Cologne.
Yeah, they have some. Although, does that hold water in America? I understand in Germany you couldn't do that, but
Yeah. Nah.
I
I think we give them a nod, right? I mean, it's.
because I think there's bottles and labels you can get in America that just say Kolsch and not Kolsch style, but I could be wrong. I mean, it might not be.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's not pissing off the Germans, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we're okay to do that.
Yeah.
This far away.
Yeah, exactly. International.
We already have
Interpol
this,
won't come after you.
Yeah, we have the styles already. We have the recipes for the styles, and we have
Yeah.
whatever, the German festival in Tomball. So
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
What else do we? I mean, that's close enough.
Yeah, so this is a great beer, and I find this is a good beer for people who are, let's say, newer to
sorry.
craft brewing, craft beer, and they want something that's like a little bit more similar to something they've had in their American light lagers, your Budweisers and your Coors and stuff like that. But what's really interesting about this beer is I think it's got a lot more going on. So it's approachable, but it's much more complex than those kinds of beers. And so, like, I find myself when I was first drinking like craft beer, this is the kind of thing I might have, and then you got into like IPAs and all these stouts and sours, and then like for me, it's kind of been like coming around again, and now coming back to these lighter, smaller beers and really appreciating the complexity. It was there the whole time, but when you're, let's say, a newer craft beer drinker, you just kind of want the big, bold flavors, and this is more about subtlety.
I agree.
But there's something there for experienced craft beer drinkers.
Yes, absolutely. And I found that personally as well, that you do all the big stuff, but you rediscover like a Kolsch or a lager or something like that. There's you just kind of washes over you.
You can't be drinking imperial stouts, on
starting off
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning, let's just say. So.
I mean, we've tried it. You're right. We've tried it. There's mixed results. Results may vary.
Yeah. But this is good beer. Yeah,
I love this beer. This is
very good.
So, what was the name of the style of Pilsner malt that you were?
It's Barca.
Barca.
Barke, and I could be pronouncing that incorrectly. I don't.
Yeah.
So Barca. So it's Veerman. Veerman is the maltster.
Okay.
And they have like regular Pilsner, and then they have Barca Pils.
Okay.
They have regular Vienna, and they have Barca Vienna.
Is that widely available for, say, homebrewers?
I do not know, because I just went. So the first time I worked with it was we were going through the catalog, and when you become work at a brewery, they give you a much larger catalog to work with. They're like, oh, you can have all the malts, not just the ones that the homebrew store decided to buy. I believe any homebrew store could buy Barca Pilsner if the owner decided to, but I think a lot of owners probably, especially smaller ones, like I don't think Landon has it, for example, over at Farm Boy.
Right, just
could buy it.
Right.
I'm sure if everyone's like, hey, Landon, we need Barca Pils, he could go out and get some. But for us, it was like, oh, we're not like stuck with whatever the homebrew shop has. We can get any malts, and so we can do this thing with a blend or whatever. So we went there. Same thing with like Best Malts. Another maltster has like the regular Pilsner, and they have the Heidelberg Pilsner, again, which is sort of like a heritage strain. So you can do this thing where you can work with the different types of Pilsners, and then you can kind of make like blends and stuff like that, and you get kind of really cool, like, subtle profiles, and that's why maybe differentiate your Pilsner from another person's Pilsner is like your subtle blend of Pilsner malts.
Yeah, I like that, because you can do a deep dive just on that, the Pilsner malt. Just in the ratios and everything.
Breaks off,
which is because German lagers oftentimes are very light, not all at least, but a lot of them are very light. They don't have a lot of specialty malts in them. Like, they're going to have a lot more of incentive to have these different variations on their base malts so that they can get differentiation in their final product. Whereas if you're an IPA focused brewery, you're going to be like, well, no, this 2-row is fine. Maybe it's a little different that 2-row, but like honestly, most of my flavor profile comes from my hops, so I'm not going to really spend a lot of energy worrying about the exact blend of base malts. But if you're doing a Pilsner, then it starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
so,
I like that. That has like I don't know, what is the quality? It's like adult, It's like it's not silly. It's just like we're just talking business. I don't know. It just is an adult beer. Like it makes me feel like I really enjoy that. I'm an adult now. That's why I enjoy that beer.
Sophisticated.
Yeah. I have a mortgage and kids and and pay bills and don't have time with all these shenanigans. I need an adult beer for my adult life. That's a good beer.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very good. Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that. Are you gonna brew another Kolsch anytime soon?
It's in the works, but I want to
you
head down the street here in a second. We're done.
That's a good segue, because we are real close to Farm Boy. This area is, with your addition, the best brewing district in the Houston area.
Yeah, if you're doing like little, we're starting to get with our coming in like little beer bus tour type people, because they can kind of come here and hit like 4 breweries really easily. They can do us, Brash, Great Heights, and Walking Stick. That's 4 of them, all within like a mile and a half of each other.
Yep.
And then if you're going just a little bit further, you can get Eureka Heights down in the Heights, and then New Magnolia is opening right across the street.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's
From
gonna
where?
be 6 New Magnolias from Great Height, from
Eureka.
Eureka Heights. New Magnolia is opening like within a block or something.
Yeah.
I have
I
understanding.
haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, no,
They're in planning, so they're not open yet. But
coming though.
there'll be 6
And
in our
Petrol's right over there.
and Petrol, if you really, really good. They have a good beer list and good food. So if you haven't been to this area, get some food over at Petrol, and then you can just hit up like 4 breweries really easily.
Yeah, you can just talk to somebody at the table next to you and probably hitch a ride if you need to.
People are
real friendly.
People come here, and I send them like, oh, if you want this kind of beer. I try to each place has its like pros and cons kinds of things. So I try to hey, if this is what you're looking for, go here. If this is where you're looking for, go there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
but different people, different places.
Yeah, Houston's so spread out that we have our there's the pockets, right? And so to like hop to different breweries. I know you guys have done multiple breweries. Like I'll look at some of Mike's posts sometimes. I'm like, they went from Conroe down to Pearland over to, wherever, Fulshire or somewhere.
That's like, a little much. We don't do Conroe to Pearland.
They went They drove 400 miles in the city of Houston and went to 4 breweries.
Yeah.
But no, this is great. It's like a cool pocket where, so if you're traveling from outside of Houston, coming to Houston, listening to this podcast, this is the area.
Yeah, come here. The other area that you can kind of hit up that's not too bad is like Edo, because you can get Eighth Wonder and
Sigma.
True Anomaly and Sigma. I think there's one more that's going to be opening up down there, but I don't know the name of it.
This is where... Oh, well, Local Group and St. Arnold are close to each other.
Right. Local Group's going to open up soon-ish.
Yeah.
We actually have a collaboration probably being released next week that we did with Huggy Bear, who's the brewer at Local Group. We have a sour IPA.
Hey,
so
that guy will brew with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't mean to speak ill of Huggy Bear. He's a dear friend of mine, but guy.
Yeah.
No,
he likes to
awesome.
come and brew. No, he's very friendly, though. I mean, how can you say
great
no to
guy.
him? Yeah.
I love it. He, I try to, share that stuff. I love when Houston breweries collaborate.
Yeah.
Makes me
just more good beer.
Yeah,
that's
more
all it
good
is.
beer.
Yeah. It's good camaraderie and supporting each other, because we try to be congenial and not cutthroat and so forth. So yeah, we try to work with each other, because also there's times when maybe you're missing an ingredient or something like that, and it's good to be friends with people instead of them being like, well, too bad.
Yeah.
Good luck there.
Order it. Wait 2 weeks for it.
Yeah.
It's like,
should have thought of that earlier.
Yeah, we're not using it, but you can't have it. That's
that sucks.
You don't see that in this industry. Maybe in other cities, who knows? But not
I
here.
could see places like San Diego where it's basically oversaturated, and there's contraction going on right now in San Diego.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit less camaraderie as much as there used to be, because it's just tough, because you're going to go out of business if you prop the delivery guys up, then maybe it's going to hurt you. But here, there's not an issue. So.
How far is Santa Cruz from San Diego?
An 8-hour drive.
That's pretty far.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to go. A couple of things that come to mind when I say Santa Cruz out loud. It triggers some things in my mind. One, how did you get from Santa Cruz to here? And two, I'm guessing since you're here in Texas, you've heard the Robert O'Keefe song where he talks about life out in Santa Cruz and coming home to Texas. We'll play it later.
Oh man.
Anyway, it's just a Texas Santa Cruz connection.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Texas country music. Yeah,
but he's out there having.
There actually is a strong in Santa Cruz, a strong connection with Austin.
Okay.
Because there's my understanding is the Keep Austin Weird. It was actually, I think, originally Santa Cruz, Keep Santa Cruz Weird, but it was coined by someone from Austin, and then they brought it back to Austin. Or there's some connection there, but there's the Keep Santa Cruz Weird and Keep Austin Weird from way back. So they're
the same font on their T-shirts.
Yeah. I think it's the same, basically the same idea. But there's a lot of carryover. There's some of the interesting characters you see in Santa Cruz, or maybe people you might see in Austin as well sometimes.
Yeah. Has Santa Cruz kept its authenticity?
I think so. I mean,
stayed weird?
It's always been, that's why I have the Keep Santa Cruz Weird. There's a duality there, because you have, it's a beautiful, beautiful beach town over the Redwood Hills from San Jose, and so you get a lot of people that can commute within 45 minutes to San Jose, so that's Silicon Valley, and it's a much nicer place to live than San Jose. So you get drove up property prices and stuff like that. So you get this group of people living there who are sort of, let's say, richer, tech-oriented people that work in the
Silicon
Valley.
Austin.
Yeah, and then you get the other people that are more like the people who've been there, let's say the
authentic,
groovy type, kind of former hippies, or the people that sort of next millennial hippies. There we go, types, and they let's say they eschew money to a certain degree, but the rent's really high, so they have to make money somehow.
Yes.
And so it's tough, because the rent's really high, but some people don't really want to focus on money. So yeah, it's a tough for some people, but I think somehow they've maintained it. You go down Pacific Ave and you can see some really interesting characters. That's like sort of the main drag. People wearing very interesting clothing and doing little like acts on the street and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it sounds similar to, because Austin is the same way. It was like when I first moved to Texas, almost 20 years ago. It's like Austin was, you could see it starting to change a little bit, but now it's so different than it was back then.
You have like Apple corporate campuses there.
Yeah,
and
it's like all the cool places you can live. Like tech people can live there because they're mobile. They can do their stuff anywhere, and they go there.
Yep.
And then
Yeah. So Austin's a cool place, but man, it's too popular for its own infrastructure.
Yes,
it's probably the issue it's running into the most. And without some major reckoning, it's gonna be harder and harder place to live without some
It's got
major redesign. Of
it's got a cap. It's not like Houston where we can just,
right.
bury stuff and put something on top of it.
Right. Well, there's other problems here because then drainage issues. Anyway, so for flooding and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
building
who doesn't love a good flood?
Yeah. I think there's some people who weren't such a big fan a couple years ago.
Have a different opinion on that.
Okay, fine. I'm just sad. I don't know.
So then what got you here? How'd you?
Oh, yeah.
So sorry, the long-winded story. So from Santa Cruz, one of the people I met was Eric Evans, and his best friend growing up was Jose Ceja. And spoiler alert, he's my business partner now, so that's getting him in. So I would learn to get this part of the story through. I would homebrew a lot, and I was getting more and more active than Eric would. So Jose was trying to brew beer, and I would be in contact with Jose about like how to brew, like techniques to use, etc., recipes, and kind of. So we've been kind of like, let's say, homebrew pen pals for a very long time. But at that point, he wasn't living in Santa Cruz. He was living down here in Texas.
Okay.
Well, Arizona and then Texas, Tucson then Texas. So then after I finished my PhD, then I went to Boston, BU Medical Center for a postdoc, studying the prion protein more, doing mass spectrometry and other proteomics type stuff. And during that time, Jose moved to Houston, and he is a lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, but at the same time we would keep communicating about brewing and so forth. And I then started helping him work on New England IPA recipes because like Boston was really big, or is still big, on those like Trillium, Treehouse, or sort of big names, that kind of style. And I would was working on developing these recipes and like how to kind of brew those style, and then I would help him, and he was able to brew them. And he was talking to me about like, hey, in Houston there's a lot of room, let's say, for a brewery to open since a couple of years ago, and there's a lot of open space, and he sort of lobbied for me to move down to Houston, and once I finished my postdoc, and apply my biochemistry to the brewing process. So moved down. I oversaw the build out of this whole space, sort of acting GC, although we had a true GC, acting GC. Did all the build out, and then transitioned into being the head brewer down here. So
What did this used to be?
this used to be like a truck parts warehouse that did. Yeah, like not automotive, like trucks and stuff like that. Like there's old rails in the back that I think that had like a crane that they could move around to move like engines in and out and stuff like that. You can see some of these beams up above us, or for cranes and stuff like that. So us and the neighbors were all one building, and they kind of divided it into two spaces, and we got the smaller space, which is still pretty big.
Yeah, it's big.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about your impressions of Houston thus far, but before that, I just took a sip of Pub Hop, and I was like, it surprised me as I little, and then I look at the descriptions, a light British summer ale, and it's like that's it. That's summer. That's summer. It just summer.
Yeah. So this is
summer sunset.
An English golden ale or English summer ale. This is not a commonly brewed style in America, but we like our small English beers here. We like small beers in general, and so what it is, it's kind of like it's lighter than a bitter, but then they dry hop it in England, and this is a style like, in fact, in England, I think places that this is a very like popular style in England, and I think they oftentimes use things like Cascade hops, like they use American hops and in the dry hopping and stuff like that. So it's sort of some modern re-envisioning of a small British beer by kind of modern British brewers, and so we're brewing this style kind of in homage to them. Our hop in this case is Sterling, which is like a kind of gives it like a lemon tea kind of aroma, and then on top of that, on the base, it's like a kind of a malty, very Maris Otter forward, so you get kind of a balance of malts, traditional English malts, and then some of this kind of earthy, like lemon tea kind of aroma.
Yeah, it's really pleasant. I mean, it's like back porch, like just watching the sun. I don't know. It's just that's super, super pleasant. Between the color and just the lemony, citrusy kind of easy.
When we first released this beer a few weeks ago, I would say the hops were probably a little too dominant, but it's kind of really coming into its own right now. It's like the hops have just faded a little bit to the point where they're really nicely balanced with the malts. And I was just like drinking it yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like our vision, like we want it to be like this balance of hops and malt, not too hoppy and stuff like that. So I think it's in its prime right now.
Yeah, that's really pleasant. Like on the pleasant scale, I'm going to put that at like a 9.
Yeah, it's not like
9.5.
It's not like it's not gonna like some crazy IPA. It's gonna blow your mind. It's more just like, oh, this is pleasant. Exactly. That's a very nice way to describe it.
This is one of those. If you had a date with this beer, you'd be like, you'd get along right away, but by the end of the night, you're like, I really enjoy this person a lot. This is one of those beers you end up marrying, or wonder why you didn't.
Right.
Maybe it was in that category. Yeah. This is the one that got away.
Exactly. No, so this is a style I really enjoy. The style. I think. we don't see a lot of it brewed in America, but it's kind of fun to do things like that, where it's not even a crazy style where some weird combination of adjuncts that it's not brewed because it's like, well, that's just kind of weird. This is like actually a pretty simple style, but it's just for whatever reason, it's popular in England. There's a whole country of people that like this, but not
maybe that's
really.
my English roots coming out, up through my DNA, just like telling me to love it, but somewhere back in my early parts of my brain. But no, this is one. Okay, so this is personal advice.
Yeah.
It's great to go out and try all new beers and the newest, greatest, and whatever, but just to like go to a brewery and just pick one beer and have like 2, maybe 3, depending on how long you're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
This would be one of those you just want to kind of sit there and.
That's like the pub style, right? In England, it's like the pub. You're going to go there. You're going to have a few pints with your friends, and you want a beer you're going to be able to have exactly a few pints over the course of the night. Maybe play darts or whatever. Yeah. And that's just very, very much that kind of beer.
Help me remember that when somebody asks me, what good beers have you had lately? A lot of people ask me that. And, I mean, I drink a lot of
pub hop
from Astral. That's fantastic. Yeah. Let's go sit on that front porch.
Right.
I bet this evening's going to be perfect.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that's a great beer. We're starting off on the light stuff, and then we'll eventually move to something a little bit bigger.
I'll probably say this. I'll probably say my new favorite beer as we go from all of them, because I fall. That's me. I fall in love pretty easy.
Gotcha.
Not that I'm saying this is not worth my love. I'm just saying I have a big open heart. But no, this is super. I love this. This is fantastic. It smells great.
So these 7 that you got on the list right now, on tap right now, is this what y'all started with?
No. So we're a small brewery, so we kind of rotate through recipes, and we find things that we kind of hit on. We have rebrewed the Kolsch, was one of the beers we opened with. Mm-hmm. This is a new batch of it, and we tweaked the recipe, like we said, we changed that slight ratio of Pilsner to Barco Pils. But these other ones are newer versions. We originally had like Pub GB, which is like kind of the same thing, but not dry hopped. Mm. We'll probably rebrew that as well, because there's a place for the non-dry hop version where it's just kind of like a simple malty beer. Yeah. Nebulous Pale Ale is kind of like a series. This is number 3. It's like the same base beer, but we change the hops every iteration with what we try to feature cool new hops, but sometimes those hops are harder to get. So it's like, hey, what's available this week? Okay, let's try to make some version of it. Take the same base beer, but use whatever kind of cool hops we can find. This version that we'll be drinking today will have Nelson Sauvin and Pacific Jade from New Zealand, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
Solar Squeeze is actually a beer that I had worked on. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but this is the recipe that that one I have worked on the most prior to opening the brewery. Like I had done like 10 iterations of that kind of diet, like tweaking until we got it just where I like it. So that one we'll probably keep rebrewing. Solar Squeeze, which we'll talk about that a little later in more detail. This is the next beer we'll be drinking after this one will be a sour guava beer, and that's our first foray into sour beers. But we're really, really happy with this, and we're gonna try to have like kind of a regular, like maybe like one sour beer on the tap wall at all times kind of thing. Yeah. Because there's a good number of people who enjoy that kind of beer.
Yep.
So
that's really good.
Yeah, keep them happy. But yeah, but we'll rotate. So like EarthRise is our latest iteration of our West Coast, but we'll have we'll rebrew it. We'll change the hops. We'll probably get a different name. We'll kind of cycle through different things and stuff like that. So we'll have some combination of like maybe half the beers will be kind of like mainstays, and about half of them will kind of be like rotating, and it'll be kind of be like whatever recipe we kind of came up with that cycle and stuff like that.
Okay.
So there'll always be a reason to come back. We always want to have like new kind of beers available.
Do you find, as far as your regulars and people that come in, because you're down here where there's a lot of hustle and bustle, you're in the city and that sort of thing, so you're going to have a lot of people in the area that will regularly come by. IPA still the main?
I think the big seller is probably the IPAs, although that guava sour beer is probably, because we have like 3 IPAs, so maybe you split the market 3 ways with like three different hoppy beers, and you only have one sour beer, but that sour beer, by itself does very, very well. But there's a certain group of people that really, really just want sour beer. So by having it, they're always going to order that one.
Yeah, so I do love them. I mean, I love. That's the thing. It's like there's so many good beers out there. It's like I talk about falling in love with this beer over here, but then like every other dude, you're like, oh, but
it's what's kind of nice about it. It's a chance to experience new things. There's always breweries coming out with new beers, and it's like you don't know what you're going to get until you go there, and that's why it's always kind of fun to visit breweries especially breweries that rotate. Yeah. Like one of my favorite breweries to visit in the Houston area is Holler. Because he's always rotating his beers, and there's always something cool and new there, and I just love seeing what John came up with.
Yeah, John. Yeah. What's up, guy?
Yeah,
love you.
So you said that's one of your favorite places to be. So do you still get opportunities to get out and explore the other ones?
They let me out of here like every once in a while. I was just over at Great Heights the other day.
I'm sure you're a busy guy, so I like to see how many.
Before the brewery opened, I was always like because I had a little bit more free time. Like I have like weekends off because like the construction we wouldn't do construction on the weekend. So I'd actually like try to like every weekend go to like a different brewery. So we had like kind of 9 months of construction. But since we've been open, like I'm in like the bar a lot and other things. So if I'm on the weekends, I'm still here if I'm not brewing, I'm doing other things. So it's like my opportunities have been limited. So I've kind of more been going to ones like Great Heights is really convenient because it's like, it's a mile away. Or Brash, for example, it's like really convenient. Holler is even like far enough. I was like, do I have time? I really want to go, but it's like just a little bit further kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But
makes sense. You're here making your own great things, and you know, you got to do the work. How many times a week do you brew?
We brew like once a week now. We're hoping to get like another fermenter, ideally 2 more fermenters, that we can just kind of brew when the fermenters open up, and we'd definitely be good to brew more often because I think we're starting to pick up on distribution, which means we need to have more kegs available and stuff like that. So we just put a second tap bank of taps, so expanding from 8 taps at the brewery to 16. That gives us more incentive to brew more often, to have more beers available.
So you have the cider on tap as well from Houston Cider.
It's not on tap. We have cans of it. They actually they can, but it's the same difference. Yeah, we like those guys. I like it's local, and I'm happy with the product. They have the dry, the rosé, and the cherry cider. So we just offer cans here.
So your license, you have a brew pub license?
Brew pub license, so we can sell other people's, like especially like wine and cider, as long as you get it from a distributor.
Will the law change? Will that change do you plan on changing? So
the law, as far as I can tell, is the whole beer to go law was about breweries. Right. And we're a brew pub, so it doesn't really affect us.
So you don't have any plans on switching over for the...
to switching? No, because we've already done everything to satisfy a brew pub license, so we've already done the work, so forth, so there's no real incentive. One thing that you can do with a brewery license you can't do with a brew pub is that breweries only need to be, I believe, 300 feet from a school, whereas a brew pub has to be 2,000 feet from a school. So if we had wanted to open a place that was, like, for example, John had that issue where he really wanted to open, but he was within 2,000 feet of a school, so he's on a brewery license. So he was a big advocate for beer to go because that license was sort of holding him back from being able to sell to go. Now he's going to be able to sell to go, which is great for him.
Now, as far as like the guest taps or is that just a separate license, or does that limit you in other ways? Or
no, I mean we have a retail. So how it works is you have like a production license and like a retail license. But we don't have guest beer taps currently, but we didn't have enough kind of space. But now that we added another bank, we're talking about maybe getting a guest beer, but like maybe of a style that we don't normally brew ourselves, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess that would be a workaround if you did do, because the way like with the collaborations. Like one person has to distribute it, and you can't be like a co-distribution kind of, right? So then you could have that beer on as a guest tap, perhaps. Would that work? I don't know how to.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to look into that. Sorry, I don't know that.
I don't know either. So
I do know, like for example, Huggy Bear, that we basically brewed it here with we paid for the ingredients. So basically, it's our from like a sort of legal standpoint, I believe it's like we brewed that beer, so we can just distribute it as we normally would. It gets more tricky, right? If like we brewed it at his place, but then we want to distribute it, then things get more complex,
right?
So that I haven't looked into, but for collaborations, mostly what I've seen is people, whichever brewery brews it, usually like does all the distribution and stuff like that, just to keep things a little simpler and not get you on the wrong side of the TABC kind of thing.
Right. Hold on, I got to smile while you take that picture. It's for the thing. Make sure I smile.
You can Photoshop it in.
I try. You know what? I need to like a smiling thing. I can smile and talk straight. So yeah. Because there's a thing like he'll take all these pictures what we do in the middle of the podcast for the post later on. Yeah. And I'm like always making this weird like half one eye closed or whatever, weird faces and stuff. Like none of these are usable because I'm like
either you want to be like looking really good at the camera, or you want to be like natural, like looking at each other, but the half.
Yeah, that half like half
a blink. Awkward. It's like, what's going on over there?
Like, how many beers did we have?
Yeah, what are those guys?
That's just
like
me.
Kind of creeping on the camera or something.
I just look odd.
Yeah.
That's why as I get older, I keep I get a little more trollish.
Gotcha.
Each year, it's weird, like old, like
descending into your troll-like nature.
Yeah, something.
Gotcha.
Mike ran away. Mike, come back and have some Guava Gose.
Yeah, so the next beer we have is the Pure Guava. So there's sort of a trend here, if you sort of picked up on it. The Kraftwerk Kolsch is a reference to Kraftwerk, the band.
Oh, yeah.
German electronic group, and then Pure Guava is, I believe, a Wien album.
Okay.
So
Kennedy, my producer on Liquid Lunch, he's a big Wien fan.
yeah.
He actually had to wean himself off because he was.
Nice.
Sorry, I don't. That's not true.
Dad joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that beer is sour beer that we've added guava to. It's pretty straightforward. But
How is brewing with guava? And what form does it take? Like guavas are kind of big, right?
Yeah, no. So when we do it for consistency, we buy from like Oregon Fruit Products. You buy it or pre-pureed,
Okay.
and it's aseptic, which is really important. You
Yeah.
you can buy, like with some fruits, it's kind of nice to buy the fruit itself, but the problem is you kind of risk an infection and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then you want to do something like, okay, well, I'll buy the fruit, and then flash pasteurize it or something like that. And then when you do it yourself, you're basically trying to create that puree. At that point, if you don't do a really good job, then in fact, you might have heated it up and cooked it too much.
Right.
Or you're like,
Changes the flavor.
Changes the flavor, and when you buy it from these companies, they have a much fancier way of doing things that don't like ruin the flavor as much when they make the aseptic purees compared to what you would do here. And then other times you're like, oh, I'll just add the fruit and I won't heat it up. I'm just gonna roll the dice. And with a clean beer, or in this case, a kettle. This is like we kettle sour. We soured in the boil kettle, so we're just adding yeast. You're risking infection if you just add the fruit directly because nothing's really gonna stop it. If you are doing something called mixed fermentation, or you're brewing with Brettanomyces and bacteria in like kind of like over time, then it's a little bit safer to add the fruit because you have these other things, other bugs going on that will kind of outcompete some of those potential infectors. So that's usually where you see it, where people are barrel aging and they'll add like peaches or something like that. That's where I would be like, okay, I might get some fresh fruit and and get those and put those in and stuff like that into barrels. But for this, where we're doing like in conical tanks, then it's much preferable to use the consistent puree that it's gonna be aseptic. It's not gonna infect a batch or anything like that.
The guava game is serious. Don't come unless you're ready to come correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what they do. That's what you do. You get the professionals.
Yeah.
The guava professionals.
Yeah, the guava Meisters over in Oregon for Bar. They have a number of products. These are actually the same. It's the same thing if you go to like the homebrew shop and you get the can of like Vintner's puree. It's actually the same company. They just like package it in two different formats. And
that's delicious.
as long as it's fresh, you don't want to get is like 2-year-old guava that's been sitting on some shelf someplace. As long as it's been like stored properly, cool. So again, when we buy from like these distributors, it's like you can kind of guarantee your product's a little bit fresher. It's been stored properly, unlike the homebrew shop where you're like maybe it's been sitting on a shelf for 6 months and then it's like not quite so good. But as long as it's been stored properly, it's quite good. We're really happy with the products, and consistency is really strong.
Super tasty, super fresh,
refreshing.
Yeah,
It's very
refreshing.
good.
Absolutely,
That's
that's kind of the word. Yeah, it'd be a good post yard work beer.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this beer's been really popular this summer. It's like especially on a hot day, people come in and they drink that beer. It's just really refreshing. The guava's it's hard but not sour. It's not like some of those sour beers you get like kind of battery acid like, and you're like, ooh, my mouth kind of hurts. And some people like that, but I'm more like, let's have it a little more delicate.
Yeah.
And so this is what we talk about is some concept called total acidity versus pH. So pH tells you like kind of familiar with pH, right? Like acids have a lower pH, bases have a higher pH. But there's something called titratable or total titratable acidity. And titratable acidity has to do with the buffering capacity. And for whatever that means, at the same pH, you could have, let's say, like water that's like pH 7, but like any little bit of acid or base would make it acidic or basic. And you could have something buffered at pH 7. That's like basically that means if you add a little bit of acid, it's going to stay at pH 7. It's not going to move. And so with these like sour beers, if they have at the same pH, if they have a high titratable acidity, what that means is that there's a lot of acid in there, even though the pH is like, let's say 3.4. It's a lot of acid kind of like holding it at 3.4. And when you add it to your mouth is like a higher pH, and a lot of that acid is going to shift the pH in your mouth, and you're going to perceive it as very, very sour. You have another beer that's pH 3.4, but has low titratable acidity. It doesn't basically have a lot of acid buffering it there. You drink it in your mouth. It doesn't shift the pH in your mouth as much because there's not as much like buffered acid. So the same pH, you're like, oh, the pH of these two beers is the same, but titratable acidity is what oftentimes guides your perception of how sour a beer is, not the pH. Because oftentimes when you do these beers, the bacterial will oftentimes take it to the same terminal gravity, about like 3.25 or something like that. That's very common for terminal gravity. But the higher the titratable acidity, the more perception of sour you'll get.
What's the measure for? Is it measured in like titratable acidity?
So
how do they?
You would do a titration. So basically, you'd have some buffer system, and you would see how much of your beer would be necessary to change the indicator. So if you remember, like from high school chemistry, you had that burette, that long skinny tube, and then you added drops, and it would like eventually change the color to magenta in the flask. That was the titration. Basically, you're trying to see like how much acid was necessary to change the pH in the buffered solution. And the more acid you took to change the pH, the more buffered it was, right? If it took very little acid to drop the pH, that means there's not very much buffering. So same thing in your beer. You can add your beer in, wait to see how much beer you need to add until the pH changes, the indicator changes color, and that will tell you effectively how much titratable, like acidity, how much acid there is.
Is there, like I know we have IBUs for bittering and SRM and all that kind of stuff. Is there something that tells
it's like the TA number, but I forget the unit of it.
Nobody ever throws that on the can.
They don't typically. It's funny, they don't actually typically throw it on the bottles, but it's actually in like the labs at bigger breweries. They're always calculating it, always doing it, and it's just not. They don't put pH on the bottles either,
right? But
it's like an internal thing, especially if you're doing sour beers, you're always measuring titratable.
They need some sort of measurement when you add the pH and the titratable, whatever, and then like sour power or something. Some scale, so I know. Okay, I'm going to be pucker factor. I don't know. That's a whole nother thing, maybe. But I didn't pay a lot of attention in chemistry class. I was at a table with Elena. She was really good looking. So
gotcha.
That's where you spent your focus at.
I tried to, not with absolutely no
chance.
No chance. Yeah, or maybe that's what. Yeah.
Did you try?
Probably not as hard as I should have.
Did you say Friday night you want to study for our test on Monday?
Never. I would have never done that. No. I never studied. Never. No.
Maybe you could have impressed her with that.
Huh?
You could have impressed her with that.
I don't think she would have been impressed with that. That's totally a different thing. I don't think she would have been impressed by that. She's not that kind of girl. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not like studying and stuff. I don't think that was kind of her bag. She's more of a kind of a party chick. But I would have never. I couldn't have sold that. I would have never studied. Like I never.
Were you a party dude?
No, I was too busy watching TV, which right?
On a Friday night? Yeah, whatever.
Or whatever, going out, something, anything other than studying. Like I never did homework. My grades were fine until they did a homework grade. It was like next to nothing.
0.
Yeah. Anyway.
I did a quick little phone research while you guys were chatting.
Oh, good.
I believe titratable acidities units are molarity, so moles per liter.
Moles.
Or you could probably do grams per liter if you're depending on if you prefer grams or moles, but that's interchangeable depending on
moles. Okay.
Moles, chemistry stuff. But
right.
So it's essentially a concentration of acid.
Okay.
So titratable acidity is basically telling you the concentration of acid in a sample rather than the pH. So the pH is sort of like the observed, where the concentration of free protons, whereas the titratable acidity tells you kind of like the total amount of acid. And the more buffered it is, you can still have pH 7 and a ton of acid if it's buffered with a lot of base.
Okay.
So anyway.
So there's no free lunch, but there are free protons, Mike.
Yes. That's good. I haven't heard that one before.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Politicians jump on that. They should be like, we were briefly discussing how silly politics were for people to get too emotionally involved.
Yeah.
But politicians should be like, you can have all the free protons you want.
Yeah.
As long as.
Here's this acidic soda. You can have as many free protons as
you
want.
Free protons for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. Seltzer water. We can do it with seltzer.
There you go. Yeah. I feel like the hard water types would probably dig. They would probably be into that.
We could call a name for hard seltzer could be free protons. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and the whole artwork could be about freeing a proton from jail or something like that. Free protons.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Protons have been oppressed for too long.
Yeah, right.
We gotta free them up. Lower that pH.
Yeah. I think we're on to something.
Yeah, exactly. So
start a whole movement. We could protest outside of the U of H chemistry labs or something.
We'll get in trouble. The actual protesters will be annoyed with us for making light of our real protests.
Protesters.
Proton testers.
We're pro
protesting.
Pro
proton protesting.
Yeah.
Pro proton protesting. Then you have the anti-proton protesters.
Yeah.
Who is the opposition group that you could also then organize to get media hype and stuff like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the nuclei or something.
Yeah.
Anti-alkali. I don't know.
They'll be called electrons.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what they.
That's the other one.
There we go.
Yeah.
I like to keep it balanced.
Yeah. There
anyway,
you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should probably pause and get our second round of hoppy.
Good.
Oh yeah. I keep telling myself I'm not going to expose all the inner workings of the podcast, but I always do.
Yeah, I wouldn't let them know there's a pause button. You might lose your believability and your
I know, right?
veracity of this podcast if they know you could pause it at any time.
Yeah. Free the protons. Back with more beers. You know,
The magic.
the existential question of, is a seltzer water now considered a soft seltzer water or a virgin hard seltzer?
Yeah, we'll have to find out.
We
We should go to various locations around Houston and try ordering virgin hard seltzers and seeing what happens.
probably going to get a lot of people looking at us
Yeah,
crossways.
just like, no, we're not doing this. You need
I
to
don't-
leave.
yeah,
we
you need to-
don't play those games
This is
here.
weird. I don't.
Yeah,
You've made it uncomfortable now. You're going to leave, please, sir.
yeah.
Back with beers in front of us. Exciting
Mhm.
development here on the podcast, because the beers we had before, though beautiful, delicious, and wonderful, they left us.
They're gone.
They're gone. Beers are only here for when they're here.
Yeah, so now we got the hoppy beers coming up.
Hoppy beers.
So this is what. So first one you all have is a Nebulous Pale Ale, and this is version 3. And this version has Nelson Sauvin and Pacific Jade, both hops from New Zealand. So
New Zealand, where they filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy
yeah, I think that's what they're famous for.
and rugby.
Rugby. They
The All
have
Blacks.
All Blacks, yeah. And they have they're called the Kiwis.
Kiwis.
Oh, so we were originally like, oh, we should call this beer like Kiwi Nebulous, and then we're like, wait a minute, everyone's gonna be like, why aren't there kiwis in here? And we're like, yeah, never mind, because
Yeah.
we're like
They
kiwis
don't
because
get
of the
the-
hop, yeah, and it would just been like a mess. And like we could put a bird on it because the kiwi's a bird, and they're like, people are like, no, it's gonna be very confusing.
Yeah.
So
Too much to explain.
yeah, so we just drew a little picture of New Zealand on the sign, and that's it.
Do y'all do like the haka before you do the brew day?
No, I don't.
Intimidate the hops?
I think we might get comments if we did that.
Okay.
People might tell us that.
Well, no one would see you do that. You're just in the
That's
back of
true.
the brewery.
That's
Yeah.
true. I guess.
It's really, it's more of a spiritual, like, kind of
Yeah,
getting
no, no.
ready for
Being
this,
with
true.
the hops.
being the warrior going to
Yeah,
battle
no.
with the brew.
Definitely. I mean, I could see definitely in New Zealand, but they do that.
Yeah, that's an intense brew day over there.
Yeah.
You better come. You know, I don't know. You ever watch the haka, like on the rugby field?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's really cool when they do it at the beginning of the matches and stuff like that. And like, because you can imagine like the English team's there and they're just like, hey, jolly good. And they're like, oh man, the All Blacks are up and they're gonna do
It's crazy.
They're gonna do the warrior dance, man.
Tongues
Why
hanging
don't
out.
we have a dance like that? We just
Right.
just got a fist bump,
Yeah, we just have holding our pinkies out while we
Right.
drink tea.
And you know, if they decided now to do it, like, oh, you know what, guys, we're gonna have the English warrior dance. Everyone's gonna be like, right, yeah, yeah, that's not,
It'd be a bunch of them like
Just stop.
waltzing
it's a
together.
little bit late for that.
Yeah.
You
You missed it by about 100 years.
I think about 1,000 years you had to
Whatever, yeah.
doing those. Yeah, exactly. So
I played rugby in college. I
Oh,
bring
wow.
this up all the time, but we did our own version of a haka.
yeah,
And-
it seems like it's popular in the
Yeah, it was great sport. Needs
Yeah.
to be more popular.
Yeah.
More, it needs to be. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't.
Back in
need to
Santa Cruz, one of my good friends was the coach
I
of
was
the women's
gonna ask you
rugby
about that, yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Alex McKenzie. He goes by Chief, but Alex McKenzie, great guy, big guy,
Yeah.
but also a huge craft beer drinker.
Yeah.
So he was like craft beer and rugby was his thing, and he loved the sour beers and so forth.
It's a great combination because that's the whole thing. When you go
Yeah.
like play rugby, beat the hell out of each other for 80 minutes, and then you take the other team out for beers.
You
Yeah.
shoot the boot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
shoot
no,
the bit.
I would, as a home brewer, I would supply beer for their little parties sometimes. They had like a alumni game, and I would supply beer for that.
Yeah, all the old guys coming back. Playing.
Yeah,
Like,
men,
kind of-
well, women too. So it was like men and women. It's
Mhm.
good to see. Yeah,
I would never play with women, not because I'm sexist, but because they're so savage. Like
Yeah.
to watch the women's team, it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
they're
he,
vicious.
he took them to like his first couple of years. He took them to nationals or something like that.
Yeah.
They were really good.
So the Slugs rugby team was
yeah,
they were on game.
Oh yeah. That was like Santa Cruz didn't have a ton of sports, but women's rugby was no joke. So
yeah, you just
I think they were probably better than the men's, like for their own leagues and stuff like that.
yeah, to call them, you almost want to call them salty, but that's faux pas for the Slugs.
Yeah, I think it
They were-
hurts.
Yeah, so you don't want to say they were salty.
Don't sprinkle salt on the
No,
slugs.
Does that
Just
kill
say
them or what?
tough.
Is that what happens?
What? You've never melted a slug?
Don't do that. Oh yeah, salt.
No.
Oh man, we used to do that all the time.
Causes it's kind of like it's like osmosis basically. It's like the salt draws all the liquid out of their body and then it dehydrates them and they die.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah,
That's pretty
It
cool.
kills
Now
them,
that
yeah.
you explain it to me, now that I'm not
Yeah,
8.
yeah. So it's osmosis.
We used to get them on our
Death by osmosis.
used to get them on our cat food and the trash cans
Yeah.
and everything. Not the one like the ones we have here, like black, like dark black.
Yeah, I haven't gone looking for slugs here.
I saw one the other day. It's like I don't see them that often, but it was like
They're probably a couple inches long or something.
yeah, well, they would stretch.
Yeah.
He-
So the banana slugs get like 8 inches long, right?
Ugh.
They're big, like an inch wide. Like they're big things. And you go out in the woods and like the redwood forest, and like certain times of year when after it rains and stuff like that, all the banana slugs will come out. And
I don't know what we had. I grew up in Arkansas. I don't know what we had, but they were fat.
yeah,
Fat slugs.
nice.
Gray, fat
Gray,
slugs.
kind of boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Banana slugs are yellow, kind of like.
Oh
very-
no, these weren't.
Arkansas State fat slugs.
Now we're the Red Wolves. We've had to change our name,
Oh,
or they
yeah.
did.
Fat slugs.
Used to be the Indians.
Yeah.
That's no longer.
That's not as kosher.
Yeah.
Although
Not a thing.
Certain NFL teams that shall not be named are a little slow.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's
Getting to the point.
right. No, whatever. Anyway,
Catching up. Yeah.
That's how you know you went to school a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like we were the.
We were the local racists, and they had to change our name. It was great. I remember when they allowed us these things. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's probably a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Sure. Red Wolves are cool too, I suppose.
Yeah.
I remember that beer. Remember Red Wolf beer?
Not familiar with that
It
one.
was out. There was a span of like 3 years where there was a bunch of red beer, like Red Dog. You remember Red Dog?
Mhm.
Red Dog was the first beer I ever tried.
Gotcha.
Like stole it from a friend's dad's fridge in the basement. Didn't like it, so
Mhm.
took one big slug off of it. Speaking of slugs, and then threw the bottle at a roadside or something.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, enough of that
Yeah.
macro beer talk.
Yeah.
This beer,
This is more micro, a little smaller batch than
Mhm.
probably that beer.
I would not throw this at a roadside.
No. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like this is our take. It's sort of a hazy pale ale.
Mhm.
It's sort of like the little brother or sister to a New England IPA. So it's like 5.5% rather than maybe an New England IPA, which might be 6.5.
Mhm.
But we still go for that hazy. We go for like the higher chlorides in the water chemistry, which provides like a softer mouthfeel, a little bit lower sulfate. And then we do the hops in dry hopping in 2 additions. We do that so-called biotransform, which is like a 24 to 48 hour hop addition in addition to the regular dry hopping. And that biotransform hop addition allows you to while the yeast is active, it I think there's various like side reactions between the hops and the yeast that occur. I think it's a lot of thiol. I think it's like a lot of thiol groups. If you have like hops with a lot of thiols in them, then they get modified by the yeast.
It's so complex. I mean, like there's
Yeah.
so many levels to beer.
Yeah, there's a lot of biochemistry and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm more. I haven't done original research. My research was all on protein biochemistry, so I have enough of a background that I can read literature and understand. But it's not like I've done the original research on these things. I'm more like, I can read that and understand. Okay, I understand what the reaction's going on.
Yeah.
I can absorb the material. But like in a brewery like this, we're not going to be doing original research because we don't have like a big lab and stuff like that. So the only real people that are doing that kind of research are people in like food, like science labs, like at Berkeley and other places have. What's the other one? I can't remember right now. Vacaville, whatever it's called. Davis, UC Davis.
I've been to Vacaville.
Davis, where
What's it for the brewer? Oh my God, the like.
English guy.
Yeah, the super like. I'm really embarrassed here. But one of the sort of like greatest sort of beer scientists in the world is
Yeah.
a professor of like. food
Start with an
science.
M. Mans. No. I
don't
can
wanna-
see his face.
Yeah.
Glasses, gray hair.
I'm really bad with names, but
Yeah.
he's
Wrote a
really
book.
so he writes lots of books. He wrote the foam book. He's wrote
Yes.
water chemistry book.
Yeah, the Godfather of Foam or whatever. It's
Yeah. So he's one of his big things is foam, which we've actually incorporated a lot of his.
Somebody's listening to this right now. It's like his name is. They're screaming at
Yeah,
them.
those guys are idiots. They have phones. They could have figured it out in like 3 seconds.
That's
literally,
cheating. That's cheating.
Literally could have figured it out in 3 seconds. So
I can see his face.
that's why I
don't
listen to
think of it.
podcasts to have the people not remember the names of people, so I can just like.
Yeah, that's too easy, everybody.
Yeah, this is your homework. You're gonna go look up what that person's name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read a couple of his books. I'm gonna think about it. Because I can see his face. I can hear his voice even.
Yeah.
I can hear his voice.
But anyway, so the person that we're not naming is really really good. So he's a great scientist. So I can read those books and sort of appreciate that kind of knowledge, but I don't have the sort of setup here in order to create new research. So we have to just sort of rely on others to do that kind of
I
work.
gotta look. I can't not. Because I can see. Is this cheating? Am I selling out too soon?
Yeah, don't sell out.
Okay, I'll wait. It'll
Yeah,
come to me.
We'll look out later.
I keep wanting to say like Mansfield or Man.
That is a name,
It
and
is
there's
a
probably
name.
someone who brews that has that name. So
Yeah.
I'm not technically wrong.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I want to ask you about Mad Cow.
Yeah.
What do we need to know about Mad Cow?
So mad cow disease is caused by a protein that misfolds in your cerebral, your brain, basically,
Mhm.
so in your CNS, and it is the mad cow disease specifically is like a version of it where there was like an isoform of the prion protein that was found in cows, and then people would eat that beef, and then they, at a very, very low rate, because transferring from cows to humans is incredibly low likelihood, but it did happen.
Just from eating regular steak, or do you have to eat like the brains?
Right. So you have to eat the brains, but like what would happen, I think in the slaughterhouses there would be some like they'd slaughter the cow, and some of the CNS, the cerebrospinal fluid, would get onto other parts of the meat. But that's also why it's so rare, because like exactly you have to have this thing where you cut the head and some of that leaks onto the steak or whatever. This is great. Stuff. But this is real. It is. This is real. So so some low likelihood that would happen, and then you happen to get like enough in there. So that's why, like, you know, even though like a couple hundred people came down with this, and so it's British. This happened in England, and in the early 90s. It's about a 4-year delay though from when they figured out what was going on to people starting to have it. And by that point, there was so many cows that had gone through the supermarkets that it's very, very low likelihood. But so many steaks had been consumed in England that, you know, even percentage-wise, there was enough that
so cooking it didn't kill it off.
No, so it's misfolded protein, and it's at a very stable energetic state in the misfolded version. So cooking it doesn't, you know, cooking normally denatures proteins, but this protein is so stable that the heat doesn't denature it.
Wow.
You can autoclave it at regular. I think autoclaving temperature is what, oh my god, that's bad. What, 150 Celsius, 145 Celsius. I can't remember. But like a regular autoclave, like at a, you know, let's say a hospital or whatever, is like a certain temperature Celsius, and that temperature is not enough to denature it. You need to go to like a super high temperature autoclave, and that is enough to denature it. But like most places don't use these like super high temperature autoclaves, because like you have to generate the steam at a certain level, so you need to kind of like certain steam generation. So sodium hydroxide works though. Very well. So we would just in the lab, we would just have like spray bottles of sodium hydroxide, just spray. But that's not really practical. Like spray your food with sodium hydroxide, that would make it not edible. So sodium hydroxide is like lye.
Oh yeah,
it's
unless
like
you're doing pretzels.
Yeah, you could boil it. Yeah, exactly. So if you had like your pretzels that had prion protein, you boiled them in lye, then yeah, you'd probably be okay. So that'd be
they should have just had everybody put them on pretzel buns, and then we'd been fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would have solved the whole crisis.
I feel like we've come to, you know, this has been a very productive, informative podcast where we've cured mad cow.
So what is interesting? So that happened, but they basically stopped the whole problem by preventing the cows from this thing called offal, which is all the parts of the cows that couldn't be used for human consumption. They would feed that back to the cows, and that's how the brain. So like what happened was like the brain was part of that. And like, so they put the brain. They would fortify the feed with the offal, put the brain parts in there, and that would contain the
offal.
prion.
They just called it offal because it sounds awful.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that why they called it that?
I don't know. I don't think it's spelled quite the same.
It sounds awful.
It is awful.
That's the worst. You're going to feed yourselves back to yourself.
Yeah. So they would feed them. This is common practice back in the day, and so they would feed it, and then that was the method of propagation, right? So it was in the brain. The cows would then eat the feed, which had the previous, let's say, just sick cows. Diseased matter in it, and then that cow would get it, and then it would repeat the cycle until they understood it was like this was the vector. They didn't know to like stop that immediately, so there was like a delay here, and they eventually figured it out, and they banned the practice of fortifying food with its own species and stuff like that.
Feeding cows to cows.
Yeah, they banned that. Although I think you can feed other species with it that there's no known crossover, like speciation species barrier. But
so could you feed cows to buffalo?
Probably not. There's actually people do this. They research like which species can is there a species barrier between which ones are not, because the agricultural department really wants to know these kinds of things. So one of the ones that we believe there's a species barrier between, but we're not sure about. There's no evidence that there isn't a species barrier is deer and elk and humans. So the reason why this really matters. So deer and elk get a version of mad cow disease called chronic wasting disease, and I think most people don't realize this, but huge populations of deer and elk in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and southern that kind of up into Canada, actually mostly in Canada, in the wild have this disease.
Really?
Just tons of like herds. It's affecting herds because in that case the vector is that they defecate on the grass, and apparently some in the grass, and then the next deer comes over and eats the grass. A little bit of that gets up, and that's enough to cycle. And they'll go in and they'll take the sodium hydroxide and like just hit a whole field with it, and then like a couple years later deer will come in and still get the disease there. So there's not really a solution to it, and like Canada spends a lot more money actually currently researching than the United States, because a huge number of deer and elk in Canada are inflicted with this disease, and the problem they're worried about is that if that is able to jump over to, let's say, cattle, then that could decimate their whole cattle industry in Canada and northern United States and stuff like that. So it's sort of an agricultural issue more than, it's not like it's getting humans, but it potentially could devastate.
So you can eat elk all day long.
So as far as we know, you can't get it from deer and elk, although I wouldn't go out and be eating wild deer and elk if I lived in those parts of the world, because it's like a non-trivial percent, like 10% or something like that.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's just crazy because like people don't know about it, but it's like, oh, it's that thing they call like mad cow disease, but it's just like in the wild all the time.
It's like angry elk.
Yeah.
Or whatever they call it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
So that's the latest on chronic wasting disease and so forth.
But we don't have to worry about that in beer. There's no mad beer disease.
No, as far as I know. This is why it's good to keep your beer vegan. You don't have to worry about these things.
Right. So
keep the meat out of the beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eat
So
the
if
meat.
you smoked the malts on the same grill that had mad cow meat,
Anything's possible. If you
Yeah.
touched it, I mean, literally, if you could dunk it in there, would be nothing in the beers and get rid of that.
even in the boil, it wouldn't kill it all.
No.
It's not hot enough.
Yeah, the boils lower temperature than autoclaving.
Yeah.
No.
So we could.
If you get to really high pH, that'll do it. But like when you brew beer, you go acidic. You don't go basic. So like, brewing beer, you're starting around like 5.4 pH, which is 7's water. So 5.4, and you're getting down to like your finished product, like say 4.5. And to denature prions, you want to be up at like 12. Something high pH.
Okay.
So that's why sodium hydroxide at high pH will denature.
So is that why? Maybe that's why pretzels go so well. I mean, that was God's way of saying.
Yeah, the high pH and no mad cow disease was sort of the plan, I think, when they designed them. Yeah.
All the pretzels always comes back to pretzels.
Yeah.
Delicious.
You know why they have that shape?
The
Pretzel shape is what I think it's called.
Yeah. You know why the pretzels have pretzel shape?
No.
There's theories, but I read this that it was a monk made them, and so they're praying to teach people to pray. Also, they go on loops easier that way.
Yes, that was probably the practical. Why didn't they just make them rings then?
See, I don't know, man. It's the praying thing. That's where it comes back to praying.
Sure. Why
Teach
not?
people to pray for your beer. Thank God for beer.
Well, they have like the hot cross buns, so
Yeah.
that's similar.
Yeah.
A little iconography.
When people used to go, especially in Germany, people would go to church and they would offer them beer. That's how they got people to come to. Or people would leave church and go right to the
That makes more sense. It's
pub
like
or whatever.
come to church, but then we can get the pub afterwards. But first,
Church.
Yeah, that's like the opposit of around here. There's a lot of dry counties and stuff like that. Which is sort of it's like let's come to church and then not drink beer.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think we've. Yeah. You missed a good marketing.
Right. You think you'd be like, hey, come. Let's just not in church. Let's do it afterwards. But,
Yeah. Although in church, I mean,
Yeah.
has anybody tried it?
Well,
never.
you drink the wine.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the blood of Jesus.
Yeah. Blood of Jesus. So maybe
It could be the beer of Jesus. Maybe like
just his skin, not his blood, but just his skin color. I don't know,
Yeah.
depending on because you can get all shades. Who knows? Do we know what he looked like?
No.
Like we don't.
Nice.
What time of year he was
What
outside?
what color he was?
looking Aramaic.
Yeah,
He's
he
probably
was outside a lot.
brown skin.
Yeah,
Worked a lot, yeah.
Nice tan. He has a carpenter working with his hands, so he's probably rough hands.
Yeah. He was a man of the people.
He was.
He was the OG man of the people, I guess.
Yeah.
OG.
Yeah. I wonder if he drank beer. They had beer back then, right? Or
They
beer
more
of type?
wine in that.
I guess yeah,
it's a
Roman.
Hellenistic culture.
Yeah.
And so it was more wine based. Beer was a more Europe, like northern.
Where they couldn't grow
stuff.
grapes.
Yeah, so exactly, it was where you did the grains, it would be more beer, and then in the Mediterranean areas, it would be more wine based. So it's most likely that they would be drinking wine. And
Yeah.
if you read all the
Yeah.
stories, he's like
Sure.
turning the water to wine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
It was, I don't know.
But the stories, like my understanding is that wine was probably pretty dilute compared to modern standards.
Yeah.
It would be like a very thin. There'd be some booze in there, but it would be gotta drink a bunch.
Yeah. You gotta be dedicated.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
What water did we turn into beer that we're drinking now?
The second one.
The second one, yeah. So you guys are drinking EarthRise IPA.
Okay.
And so that's like a West Coast, more West Coast style IPA. It's gonna be a little bit drier.
Yeah. I like dry.
And it's still, this one's like super fruity, almost like I got a little candy like aroma to it. It's got Citra and Ella hops in the dry hop, and then the base is Chinook and Columbus. So the base is the dankiness, but then we dry hops it. So we kind of did this where we did like, okay, the base, like the Whirlpool hops, we'll do like the dankier side of that, and then the finishing hops will add the kind of sweeter, fruitier, in this case a little candy like with the Ella, and so you kind of get a little bit of balance that way. So it's definitely a little bit on the
Where does Ella come from? I don't know about that.
Australia.
Okay. See, Southern Hemisphere.
Southern Hemisphere, exactly.
Yeah.
Not New Zealand though. Nor Lord of the Rings. This is more Crocodile Dundee, I guess.
It is good.
Yeah.
For our
Not when he came to New York.
no.
Stayed in Australia.
No, maybe he brought the Ella with him.
And then that's how you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like in his backpack.
Yeah, he's like, I use this to keep alligators away. Also,
They're-
or crocodiles. I'm sorry, crocodiles. There's no alligators there.
Crocodiles.
Crocky.
Crocodiles.
Yeah. I don't know. I like this beer though.
Yeah.
I love with all the hazies and everything out. I love to just take a
Make
step
clear,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
go
a
West Coast.
little more old school. Although it's updated because these hops, maybe a more classic West Coast would be like a more pine forward,
Mhm.
and this is definitely a little more that candy like thing that people seem to like. But
Yeah.
we were just playing around because I hadn't worked with Ella hops before, and I'm like, oh, this would be a great opportunity. Let's try it out, see how it works. Next time we brew a West Coast IPA, we'll use different hops. We were talking about. I don't know. Actually, what are we going to be using next? We basically what happens is we sit around one day, we look at what's available, and we're like, oh, let's try that hop. Maybe we'll probably do some Simcoe next time to get a little more pine in there, and then I don't know if it'll be Citra and Simcoe or whatever.
I like pine too.
Pine's good.
Have you ever used spruce tips?
I have not, but I have had beers with spruce tips that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, I've never brewed with them, but yeah, I've had some beers.
Spindle Tap. I feel like around Christmas time, they're like Christmas hazy IPA this year had spruce tips in it,
Did
if
they?
I remember correctly.
That's a very seasonal thing to do.
It was like a seasonal.
When they're fresh, they're
Oh.
they're sweet. Like they kind of have a sweet
yeah.
flavor. To them.
And I like it. I've had a sour beer with spruce tips in it. That I was like really leave them on. I'm like, this isn't going to be good, and it was amazing.
Yeah?
Don't judge a bottle by its cover. That was on me. So I
Yeah,
was pleasantly surprised.
That's one of those things like tea and spruce tips. Like I was automatic. Like I had one tea beer that was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And then I've had a few since. Then I'm like, whoa. Like
Yeah, tea can be a hit or miss for me as well because you can get kind of nice, pleasant balanceness with the tea, and you can kind of get this overwhelming, like, hey, if this beer would have been good if you just didn't add the tea. So it really depends. With most adjuncts, you can have good and bad examples.
yeah,
It can be well meshed and not.
yeah. What was it? They were with sours. Where did I have one? I forget now. Tea.
Definitely, I've had.
Oh yeah, tea. Yeah, that's right.
B52 had one,
Okay.
and it was like a peach tea sour.
Okay.
It worked.
Yeah.
And what was the-
I remember, but I can't remember where we're at. But it was a, yeah.
Sour tea.
Oh, I had one from Blue Owl.
Okay. Yeah.
They have it's like a little
their
310.
whole. My understanding is their whole
Thing is
portfolio is sour.
sours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kettle
sour.
soured.
Kettle sours. I think it's all kettle sours, right?
Yeah, and this one was, Earl Grey tea,
Okay.
a little, like some lemon, all from the hops, so some lemony
Yeah.
hops, and it was good.
I kind of wanted to add tea, for a one-off, do like a one keg of it, do like tea infused pub hop.
Oh yeah,
Because I thought that would kind of match.
Yeah,
But that being said, it might be too weird. It might not taste
No,
good. So
no,
I'm
no,
like,
that's-
let's just do one keg.
I think that's kind of the genre they were going. They had English malts in there.
right. Exactly.
It worked.
It's funny how the tea and the English malts work together, but
Yeah.
it just kind of maybe just reminds you of England.
Maybe.
So this Ella hop, that's the one that kind of gives it that.
Candy like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, I don't know if I like the spruce tips. That pioneer thing. I don't know if that's not necessarily my jam. But this
Yeah.
Ella hop may be my new favorite here.
Yeah. Well, it's that in the
Just kinda
it's the interplay between that and the Citra.
brings it down, yeah.
Yeah. It's not Ella by itself, but it's the Ella
Right,
Citra
right,
combo
right.
that creates that. Like a little bit like a
Citra.
watermelon finish or melon finish is kind of what I perceive it as.
Yeah, this is.
And so
And
forth.
Josh knows I'm not too much in that. Well, I mean, I've been telling him, but I'm
morphed.
I'm yeah, exactly.
How long have you been
You've
on
been
this podcast
dragged
now?
onto enough of these shows where they
Yes,
force you to drink
dragged
IPA.
and these
Absolutely.
IPAs are.
Yeah,
are
you're like, oh man, the IPAs.
man, yeah. Like at first I was like,
That's been your
yeah,
go-to
yeah,
line
but
since
yeah.
the beginning, but now you
It's-
went through that lupulin threshold shift or something, or
yeah,
whatever they call
IPAs,
it.
man. And this Citra and Ella
Yeah.
play together. Or
Yeah, it's not too bitter. We're actually curious about that beer. It's
not
not as
bitter.
bitter as we
It's not.
intended, and we don't, as far as we can tell, we like triple checked our recipe. Like, no, like there's 90
That's
IBUs in
good.
here, but like it does not taste like 90 IBUs.
No.
We're like, we did this like Clarex thing. Like maybe that dropped out some IBUs. We're like trying to figure it out. So I think next time I brew, we're gonna make it a little bit more bitter. I think I'd like it just a hair bitter, but
I like
because it
this-
just comes
I like
off
this
a-
version.
It's
That
it's
was good.
People seem to like it, but
I crave that bitter.
Sunrise. What was
Yeah.
it? Sunrise and Earth. Sun, Earth, and
Earth-
This is
Earth.
EarthRise. This was actually
EarthRise.
in honor of the Apollo. We released this on Saturday, so it was in honor of the
Damn.
Apollo 11 mission. So EarthRise is when
Yeah.
you're looking out on the moon and the Earth rises up.
Can we talk about how badass that is that we went to the moon?
Yeah. Well, I didn't go personally, but maybe you guys did.
No,
I
not
stayed
that-
here.
Yeah.
No, but like
I'm an
the
Earthling.
people.
Yes, people.
People here in
Few
Houston.
People, and what's crazy are still alive. Like
Yes.
Buzz
That did that.
Aldrin is.
Buzz is a badass.
Buzz is definitely badass.
He's a badass. When we were brewing on Saturday, we toasted
yeah.
Buzz Aldrin
Yeah.
because
No, yeah,
that's
he's
how-
American hero.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really proud of the whole. I mean, it's sort of amazing in retrospect. Like, given given where we are now and how we can't agree on anything as a society, like the fact that they got together and were like, we're going to put a person on the moon and we're not going to argue about it. We're just going to do it. And it's like, that's like amazing. And I don't know if that would be able to happen these days.
Have you watched any of the documentary? Like they basically went in a foil wrapped tent.
Yeah. And we put on at the brewery, we put on some like documentaries on a Saturday and we were like watching it. And I did a, but because all the different news organizations were publishing articles. So I read some long form articles about, the whole mission and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of really interesting.
It's crazy. I mean, they went to the moon.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What's crazy to me is that they were able to do it the first try without anyone getting injured or killed or anything like that. Like everyone survived. Like that and they were like, we're not sure that they're like, well, just in case.
They were all they
got
had
some backup plans.
Yeah, they had the speeches and everything written in case this goes awry. Because there was a really good chance, and there was some time when I was listening to a podcast about it's like a 3-part hours long podcast about they had like issues pop up like their computer.
Yeah.
Like they kept rebooting like within 30 seconds of landing it kept rebooting because they couldn't, I don't know, something about the way the trajectory and the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were
the internet wasn't right.
Yeah, their internet.
They lost the Wi-Fi
The
connection.
Wi-Fi was shit on the moon in 1969.
Yeah.
But it was, they were like, well, we're too close now. We can't. This is it.
Pull back. Yeah.
We got to figure this thing out. And they figured it out. And
go on.
well, I was gonna say they have this clip of audio of not Buzz.
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, where like this is the closest you'll ever hear to Neil Armstrong having panic in his voice. We've got an error message here.
Yeah, he's just like
that's
it's
it.
like Houston, don't let me down.
And they're like, yeah, you're fine. And they figured it out, and they land. And they had to move along the surface to find a good place to land because where they were, it was too bouldery.
Yeah.
Man,
that's crazy.
I also heard when he got back in, they were wearing their spacesuits and they got back into the lander, and it's like really tight fit because they had like weight was like everything was like bare bones, and they like standing room only in there, and like they have these bulky like packs on to keep their oxygen and all those other things. And I think he like apparently bumped something and broke one of the switches.
Oh god.
Yeah, and he had to like use a felt tip pen to act like. Luckily they were able to like use like a pen, like some like jury like okay, just stick that in there, able to turn it back on.
Can you imagine everything went into it's time to leave and the on switch broke when you were walking by.
Just like
it's like why is your elbow so fat? I don't know.
Yeah.
Imagine those
1 centimeter too fat that
why
the
didn't you
switch.
do more crunches or something?
If they made a Hollywood movie, they'd have some like giant sound effect, like they would snap and it'd be like dun 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 dun. Oh no, we're stuck here. And then it's like Apollo 13, but instead of like the whole they do the whole thing, it's just like they find a pen and they just stick it in.
Yeah,
it's like the short version.
Switch.
Oh, I figured it out.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Blue banner switch. We're good.
Yeah. What's the guy that was the third guy that was
that
was in there with him? He's hanging out with the guy from UC Davis. We can't remember his name either.
Yeah. Oh man, what's his name? The third wheel.
He just stayed
Starts
in
with
the
a C, I think. His name starts with a C. But
he just stayed in the lander the whole time. Like went to the moon, but didn't get out of the car.
Yeah. Well,
he was the Uber driver.
But I mean,
he's fine.
They knew from the beginning, like that was.
His job.
That was a job. That was just like he was signed up. It wasn't like we're gonna pick when we get up there.
Yeah, we're straws.
They didn't want the lander to fly away, or float away.
Yeah.
They needed someone to.
They had to have him on there for that.
Yeah,
keep the.
You could just put like
the
a
taxi
rock.
back. Yeah, a rock.
Because when they come up, they had to like meet up with each other, so they needed someone in there to pilot it.
Oh, he was the one. He orbited around.
Yeah, so he went around like
he never
10
landed
times.
it.
No. So he went. No. So how it works is that there was one person in the lander or two people in the lander, and he stayed in the orbiter.
Yeah. Okay.
And he orbited like 10 times, and whatever. And then they had to meet up again after they were done and stuff like
That's
that.
if they was like, bring me a rock.
Yeah.
T-shirt, something.
On the moon, way up there.
Yeah. I flew all the way to the moon and didn't even land. T-shirt.
Yes, he's the only one that can wear that shirt until like Apollo 12 or whatever. But still,
exactly.
he's the first one that got it.
Yeah,
they made it for him.
Exactly. Special patch, like almost there.
Yeah, almost. He got the almost there patch. Close, but no cigar patch.
Yeah.
Well, something almost as big as the moon landing is the hazy IPA.
The hazy IPA.
That's my transition. The hazy IPA craze.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal in the beer industry right now.
This one smells really good.
Yeah, it's everyone's got to basically have an hazy IPA these days. It seems like even breweries that like don't really, that's not what they set out to make, are kind of like forced to make hazy IPA. Like you see, I see this like Sierra Nevada has hazy little thing, and you could tell like they're not like, hey man, let's start. They're like, okay, that's like market trend. We gotta have our version. New Belgium has their version. Sam Adams, I remember, released their version, and it was just kind of like, these guys like. They had some meeting, and then they came in and they're like, okay guys, brewers, you're gonna make a hazy IPA, and they're like, really? That's not really our thing. It's not what Santa Adams is all about, but okay.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I guess the numbers speak for themselves, right? If they keep putting it out, it's selling.
I know for Sierra Nevada, Hazy Little Thing, I think is their third best-selling beer.
Really?
And like that's a new addition to their portfolio, right? Like it's like Pale Ale, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale #1, Torpedo #2, and I think Hazy Little Thing's #3. But that's like a major, like if that's your third best-selling beer, that's an important part of your portfolio.
Yeah, you keep brewing that,
and you keep brewing it, even if maybe that's not what your original brewery was meant to be, but it is now.
That right there says this is not a trend.
Yeah, I don't exactly.
It's a new.
If Sierra Nevada does it and it's a major part of their portfolio, that's like they're on board.
Yeah, it's
they've
an
accepted.
Era.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is the hazy era.
Exactly. And I suspect there'll be a time when it'll decline in favor of other things. I think hoppy beers are never going to decline, but there'll be different versions. Like this type of hoppy beer will be what everyone wants right now. But as more of these styles get developed, what I think is going to happen is that people are going to kind of stratify and like, I still want to stick to my West Coast. I want the Northeast. I want a new style. I want the brewed IPA or whatever. And you'll have these various styles, and people will kind of find their niche. And that's why you have lots of breweries, because different breweries will like have better versions of these different things, and people will be able to find kind of the beer that suits their palate the best. It won't be like one beer that wins out, I don't think necessarily, but it'll be like some, different people will find different things, which is cool for the little guys. We'll have more, we'll be able to find our little place. Yeah,
I had this discussion the other day where I think we should just drop the IPA from just call it hazy. Something.
Yeah, so what it really is, if you look at how like you brew them, like a lot of people come in and especially these old school people, like, oh, I'm going to brew an IPA and I'm going to try to make it hazy. What you're really doing when you make a hazy IPA is you're brewing a wheat beer and you're dry hopping it. And if you come at it with, I'm going to brew I make a dry hopped wheat beer, it suddenly everything is much easier in terms of conceptually, because you're like, oh yeah, I know how to make a wheat beer. I do all these things. That's normal wheat beer stuff. These are IBUs I use normally, and these are all like yeast and other things like that. And then, oh yeah, I'll just do a dry hop addition on it. It's like people do like a dry hop saison. They don't call it like a Belgian IPA, although maybe some people do. But it's like that. It's like a hazy IPA is basically dry hopped.
That was the thing for a while. Beer. That's the thing. It's like all these different forms of IPA. There was Belgian IPAs. There was
right.
White IPAs and black IPAs and red IPAs.
Yep, these are all things.
Every other color. I don't know.
Yeah. But the hazy is the one that had legs. I think a lot of it was because not the issue, but the factor that the common factor about all those other styles of IPAs, they were still bitter. And the major factor of the hazy IPAs is it's and people oftentimes use the word hoppy, but it's not bitter. It's much more like I say, pillowy mouthfeel if done correctly, but that's still very hop aroma forward. So you get all the flavors of the hoppy beers, IPAs, without, let's say, that bitterness on the tongue. And for a lot of people, that makes them approachable. It makes it enjoyable. You can drink that more than one without it being like hop burn, and you just like have to stop and stuff like that. With maybe the West Coast, you have to like slow down because you get hop burn. So people really gravitated towards them for that reason. They're just a more approachable beer. There's a wider group of people that like, we'll get people come in all the time like, oh, I don't really like IPAs, and I'll be like, oh, try like Nebulous. And they're like, oh, I really like this. This is an IPA. And they're like, well, it's a hoppy beer. They're like, and what they think of hoppy, what they mean when they say they don't want a hoppy beer is, I don't want a bitter beer.
Yeah.
What most people don't mind are the flavors. There are some people who are like, no, I don't really like that flavor either. And that's perfectly fine. But for a lot of people, they like that.
Yeah. No, I take it all.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Have you considered brewing a hazy?
No, I haven't. I'm still kind of. I want to do that. Just my first IPA.
Yeah,
do dry hopping.
Do a regular IPA. I'd say the number one challenge from a home brewer point of view for making any IPA is the dry hopping addition without introducing oxygen or minimizing the oxygen introduction.
So then, what do you think we should do? Just like a regular, a big mouth bubbler type, opening that.
Maybe
much.
do it in a keg.
Yeah,
you
can exactly. So what I do when I home brew is I have a keg that I kind of use like a bright tank we would use here, or some sort of secondary. Basically, what I do is I'll do a closed transfer from my initial carboy into the keg. Closed transfer means like I'll kind of close it off and push CO2 in, and then that pushes it out. From rack and cane, it's all closed. I'll have a pre-purged keg, a keg that's already free of oxygen that I'm going into. And if I was going to dry hop, I'd have dry hops already in that keg that you purged it. Yeah, and you got to do a little modification. Like usually, like you want to cut there's like guides online. You want to cut the dip tube, maybe add some kind of filter so the hops don't get sucked in. All sorts of things. Anyway, so you do all that. You look up, make a dry hopping keg. You close transfer. Now you're dry hopping, but you're not introducing oxygen. And then from there, then you just do a close transfer from that keg to your final serving keg, and hopefully leaving that mass of hops at the bottom, again with that filter and the shortened dip tube. Transfer it over to your serving keg, and then you're good to go.
I wonder if you.
Would you put those dry hops in like some type of sack or just
different
the pellets
ways to
or
do
whatever
it.
in there?
You need some way to prevent the pellets from getting sucked up. So like one way to do it, like I've done it, is I put them in the bottom, but I have like a filter around the dip tube. And I would definitely look at some guides online about how people have addressed this challenge because there's different strategies, but you need some way to prevent
the hops from coming up.
But the benefit of if you put the hops in a bag, that limits the amount of fluid like contact because even that bag, even though it's like porous, there is like a slow diffusion across it. It's not like free moving.
Right.
If you just have the hops directly in there, especially if you can like a little not shake, but maybe like a little jostle every once in a while. Ideally, you'd have a pump recirculating, but that's like you can't do that at homebrewing scale. So just a little jostle in that sealed keg. Make sure you're under pressure, right? So you're applying a little bit of head pressure, maybe like 2 psi, just enough so the oxygen can't go in, right? You just want a little positive pressure. And you shake it, and then light jostle it. That kind of mixes it around, and that'll get you lots of contact. And you only need, especially if you're agitating it, you only need about 24 hours to dry hop. If you're just gonna like dump them in there, set it, forget it, I might go up to like 4 days because you have to worry about you have to rely on diffusion a little bit more. But if you do like every hour, or every couple hours, maybe give it a slight agitation, then you only need 24 hours. Like when we do it here, we recirculate with a pump, and we just do it for 24 hours. That's all we need for dry hopping. But that produces a lot more contact, the hops and the movement and stuff like that. At homebrew scale, if you just want to you don't want to worry about it, maybe do 4 days or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
In a bag.
No, I wouldn't put the hops in a bag. I would just leave them in the
Just
keg.
throw them in the.
Just
Here's
keg.
what I
As
would
long as
do.
you have that filter to you need something to protect your dip tube from getting.
Here's a homebrew pro tip. Nerf football. Put your dip tube, like cut a little hole in the Nerf football. Stick your dip tube down in that Nerf football. Whatever color you want. You know how they have the 2 colors? Nerf football.
Yeah.
Stick your dip tube. Either way, however you want to do your homebrew. I don't judge. Dip tube down in the football, squishy. Yeah. You pick the color; it should work fine.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do it like that.
All right. Well,
there's you can get stainless steel filters. I'm all about stainless steel. There's stainless steel filters things you can get.
Stainless steel Nerf way either way.
That go in the inside of the keg.
Yeah. So what you can do, it's like a filter.
What do you call it, a hop rocket or something?
Yeah, it's kind of like a screen that fits around your dip tube and it goes the whole length. These things can get clogged, so there's different strategies you have to use. And I would definitely look up online. If you look up like dry hopping keg build, Google that. You'll find blogs where people have here's my model, and see what people have done, and then read the feedback about did this actually work, or did this be I built this and it just was horrible.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
But I had a version that worked out pretty well. But definitely the if you can do that, the close transfer is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the
And that'll make your IPAs so much better if you do the close transfer. That's my number one thing. Well, obviously, assuming you're already brewing correctly, you're adding the right amount of yeast, cell count, you're doing temperature control, you're oxygenating your wort, you've got all that down. The next most important thing after you got that kind of basics, I would say, is to minimize the oxygen that gets in contact with your beer, especially for hoppy beers. It's the number one thing that's going to make your IPA go from that kind of meh homebrew IPA to oh, this is really good, and not. Sometimes people brew IPAs and they're oh, this is great, a week later, but then then it just fades real fast because basically the oxygen gets in there and its shelf life is a week. So maybe if you got friends come over and are really thirsty, it'd be okay. But if you do this close transfer stuff, your beer can last a month and still be quite tasty, especially for hoppy beers.
Okay. What do you think about like a hazy? Because you said approach it like a dry hopped wheat beer.
Yeah.
What do you think about using Hefeweizen yeast or something?
So there's some lore that not Hefeweizen but wit. Belgian wit beer yeast.
Yeah.
It's a blend of an English ale yeast and a Belgian wit beer yeast isn't necessarily a bad idea. Mm-hmm. So there's some people think that based on some DNA evidence that Treehouse, for example, uses a combination of I think it would be Safel 04, which is the English dry yeast, and then the dry Belgian wit yeast. You can Google this, and there's some thread about it in one of the forums about they did all these things. They had DNA markers and stuff like that. And no, there's Belgian wit beer, and everyone first was what? There can't be that makes no sense. And then you start thinking about wait a minute, what they're brewing is basically a dry hop wit beer, so that actually does make sense. So maybe that's not so crazy.
I wonder what temperature they fermented at.
Probably just 68 is my guess. Usually what we'll do with these beers, we'll start at 68 Fahrenheit, and then we'll ramp up to about 72. And kind of let it to get the clear diacetyl out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So something like that. I don't think they go too warm.
Yeah.
But you never know. I'm not in the cellar of Treehouse, so maybe they are doing something different.
Okay. Life goals.
I believe that they're not pitching yeast at Treehouse. I think they're just using dry yeast every time. So they have a kind of like a say proprietary blend of dry yeast they always use.
Okay.
And then that way they don't have to reuse things, and that keeps their consistency up.
How many different yeasts do you have that you use?
So we propagate yeast here. We were on the forums and we found some random thread where someone was like, a professional brewing forum, and someone was like, our brewery's standard operating procedure is to propagate up yeast in conical, and we're like, what? How does this work? And he had like a little build out and how he temperatures and CO2 or oxygen levels and all these things like flow rates. And we just like followed that and modified it to fit our system. And so what we do now is we just buy 2 homebrew packs from Landon over at Farm Boy, propagate them up to a full, the cell count necessary to brew 10 barrels, and then we just go from there.
Okay.
And we just, so every time we don't have like house yeast. We just go to Landon and just pick up yeast. So like I have to go today, for example, to get some Kolsch yeast after this. I was going to go there, pick up some 2 packs of Kolsch yeast, and that's so like. And he'll tell me like, oh, sometimes people come here and they get like 2 packs for a 5-gallon batch, and we're buying 2 packs for like 10 barrels. So we just our cost is a little bit higher because we have to basically it's the cost of 2 packs of homebrew yeast plus liquid malt extract that kind of so we basically buy 1 5 50 pound. It's like a 50 pound pail. I forget they come in like it's like a full pail. So I think it's 50 pounds like a bucket, and that's like I want to say $50 of LME. And so that's like you need the sugar, you need the food to grow up the yeast, and then you need a tank of oxygen to aerate it.
You don't throw any like yeast nutrient.
Yeah. There's like and we do a little bit of yeast nutrient. That's that's negligible cost, but you do and you use like a special kind of yeast nutrient. You use like a startup. It's like a yeast nutrient that doesn't have I want to say nitrates in it. What does it not have? It doesn't have some sort of salt in it that would cause some when the yeast is really like starting to propagation. It can kind of be rough on the yeast, but probably could be using honestly. It's more for dry yeast that's more important because osmosis is a problem. I think for liquid yeast it doesn't really matter that much. So we just add some yeast nutrient in there and then you just kind of continuously aerate it with oxygen, push oxygen into it. So you basically you're just trying to feed it food, the yeast nutrient to have those kind of like necessary salts, phosphates and things like nitrates and things like that. And then you just have oxygen going in there at a low level, and you just want to kind of keep the dissolved oxygen concentration at a certain amount. And then just do that, and like over 3 days you can get enough yeast. So a normal pitch of yeast for us would cost like $400, but this method costs us like $80. So that makes, instead of us having to reuse yeast, now the cost is down to the point where like it's just economical for us to just do that every time. It takes a little bit of conical time, but it makes it so we can just brew with it whatever yeast we want and not have to worry about things. We can just pick a style, like we want to do like a one-off, like we're doing a Belgian beer today, where like yesterday we brewed a Saison. We're not going to necessarily use that yeast anytime soon, but it's great. We don't have to reuse the yeast. We just dump it.
Okay.
No pressure to reuse it.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure, Mike. No pressure on this final beer that we have in front of us.
Your final beer.
It's delicious.
This is Noche Oscura. It's a Mexican chocolate stout. So it's a stout, sort of porterish stout, a stoutish porter, 7.5% ABV. And it is, we added cocoa nibs, dried chili, so
Go for it.
Guajillo and ancho chilies, and then cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla beans.
It's very it's like a silky kind of desserty.
I love it.
Like almost like a mousse type, not like a mousse like antlers, but like a dessert mousse kind of that.
Yeah.
The texture of like the fluffy. It's like almost like a fluffy.
Yeah. So this is great. I kind of describe this as a dessert beer when people want to order something. I'm like, hey, do you feel like dessert right now? And if the answer is yes, you should have this beer.
Yeah, I say take a sip and then let it dance on your tongue and get all that after effect.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on there. That's really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good way to, contemplate what we've been talking about today and wrap up an episode. I like that a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why I'm talking like this.
It's late night.
Yeah,
it's like exactly like you can put on the soul music.
Yeah,
and I got some.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's good.
It's good. Yeah, as I said, this is what I ordered when I was here a couple weeks ago. I was one and done. I had to go to work later that day.
Yeah,
when I was here. That's what I got.
No, for sure.
I loved it.
Yeah, that's really good.
I'm glad you guys like it.
I think it would go well with s'mores.
S'mores, okay.
Like we have a fire pit
on a cold night.
Chocolate, I can see that. Like, usually get the Hershey bar. So graham cracker has cinnamon in it, so I see where.
Yeah, and we do.
Mixes.
I mean, it's not.
Mixes.
Yeah, because those are sweet, right? But this would hold up to sweetness.
Yeah,
that's good.
And we have a fire pit in our backyard, so as soon as the sky is not on fire anymore, we do fire pit nights a lot. And
Oh yeah, 'cause what I need right now in my life is a fire.
Yeah. Actually, today
Today was nice.
Yeah,
Today's-
in the shade when I was sitting over there
Yeah.
on the picnic tables. That
Yeah.
shade felt great.
No, I got out this morning like to feed the cats, and it was like I'm like, what is this? This is a temperature I like.
Yes.
that's weird.
Yeah.
It's going to last for another day, I think.
Yeah.
And then we'll
Hour
have
But
to-
tomorrow, no, by this afternoon it'll be horrible. But yeah, it was. I felt bad because I'm like I do things like, man, if I'd known I would have gone on a little morning hike. I would have like enjoyed my life.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad not
Enjoyed
taking
my life.
advantage of it.
A little bad.
Yeah.
So where do you live? You live close to here?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. We just moved into a place just less than a mile from here.
Okay. Oh, cool.
In Independence Heights.
There you go.
Okay.
And
Congratulations on
nice
your
little neighborhood.
short commute.
Yeah, my commute. I thought I keep bringing my car. Really, I should bike to work and then
Bike, yeah.
because we have a delivery van, so I could just bike to work and then take the delivery van if I need to deliver beer and so forth. But
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So I know this kind of goes back, not really off topic, but how long you been in Texas? When did
So
you move down?
I moved here a year ago. Just
year.
a little bit over a year ago now. So
You-
let's say a year and 2 months ago.
You've been
So
through
you're-
the full gambit of weather.
Yes,
and-
Weather,
I've
yeah.
experienced it all. But coming from Boston, it's a little warmer here.
A little
than
bit.
A little less snow. That's
Little
what I've
bit.
noticed.
Yeah.
Not quite as many blizzards.
No.
No.
No. Not as many.
I heard it snowed a couple years ago for like 3 seconds.
It did.
Yeah. I
Did.
saw a couple of flakes.
Yeah, so
No.
everyone was like, "Oh my God, snow!" And then like the city shut down because like they couldn't deal with.
Yeah, my house was covered. When I say covered, it literally was covered in snow, but it
was-
was,
You can see it.
that big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was there's no lobster rolls here, even though we're close to the
yeah. So
Coast?
because lobsters are they need colder water, so it's all more shrimp and crawfish based.
Yeah.
What I have missed is fresh mussels and clams because those
Yeah.
things also like the colder water. You can find some places like HEB will get them imported, but
Yeah.
they're imported from Canada. It's
Yeah.
not like they're like out there in the Gulf. They don't grow. They're just
No.
too. So because I really like that kind of seafood, like that New England seafood.
Yeah.
Which is, to be fair, I'm sure there's great seafood here. I just have to learn about the
It's just different,
Yeah.
yeah.
exactly. Learn how to use what you got available. Like every place has its
redfish.
own.
Yeah.
Well, I keep seeing things in the grocery store like that. And I'm like, oh, this is like a cool goldfish, and I look at the price. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just get something.
Good steak.
Yeah, just like a little more affordable. It's like it's pricey.
Did all your mad cow research turn you off of steak at all?
No.
Okay, good.
Good.
Good. Because
No.
I don't think I could do without steak.
To be fair, I don't eat much steak, but not for mad cow reasons. Just because it's like there's a lot of carbon footprint associated with a steak. Steaks like
Do you think
a
like?
lot of like a lot of methane production.
Yeah.
is from cows.
Well,
Like,
that's
more
why I
than
want to
humans.
kill them all and eat them.
Yeah, I think
That's what I'm
they
trying
keep
to.
planting new ones is the problem.
I see. I thought I was doing my.
Yeah.
my fair share.
Part
I'm like,
to
I
keep
would
it down.
kill these.
Yeah.
These.
Bovine.
These mother heifers, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat them.
No, I tend to eat
Yeah.
more chicken and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I have a steak like once every couple months. Once a month, I'll get a steak or something like that.
If they would,
are nice, but
yeah, they're talking about like lab produced meat, things like that.
yeah, my brother's he's like an ethicist, and he's super into like, oh my God, have you heard about this lab meat? I'm like, that stuff. Okay, so I care about my carbon footprint, so I don't eat too much steak because I just don't want to. Yeah, it's not great for the environment to eat it regularly. But that being said, these lab meats, like either maybe more ethical, but there's probably almost guaranteed to be even higher of a carbon footprint than
Yeah.
a steak that is made out there. And
It's like
a cow.
renewable energy sources. Like we end up making more carbon and stuff. from
Yeah,
the
right.
production
And
of those.
exactly. So I'm all about what's the carbon footprint on that, and at some point, if you have to have like a giant lab with air conditioning to like grow all this thing,
Yeah.
it's like what are you just to make like one kind of patty? It's like that's you could do it and you wouldn't hurt an animal, which just has its upside, but maybe not carbon footprint.
If they could genetically engineer like crickets to taste like steak,
yeah,
or something
no,
like
there's like I had exactly, back in California, we had a friend who went into that trying to make like cricket meal and stuff like that. But it's just hard to sell it to people because like you get certain types of people who will do it, but it's just unfortunate. And it tastes like fun. We made like cookies with it, like cricket meal. It doesn't taste like you're eating bugs. It just tastes like cookies, but people still like there's a bug in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a bug. It just it's a meal. It's just protein. It's like basically a protein supplement. Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
It's like
Yeah, I don't know though. If they could genetically, if we're gonna get all genetically engineered fake, like we can make chickens taste like steak, right?
yeah. I mean that'd probably be a better way to do it. Than
Yeah, just do that.
chickens are much more reasonable from a
Chickens or
carbon footprint
turtles or something. Make
point,
turtles
yeah.
I want
taste
my
like
chicken to
steak.
taste like chicken though. Don't
don't
waste
chase-
waste chicken on turning it.
Well, not all of them. You could have like different flavors of
Yeah,
chicken.
so I
Steak
guess there's a
chicken.
lot of chickens. You're right. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of chickens.
Yeah.
Chickens are much more. If you want meat, I go with chicken just because it's a little better for the environment.
Yeah.
Better for the body.
Better, yeah, exactly. Too. Also, there's definitely a link between red meat and heart disease.
It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why I have the beer. I hear the beer takes care of the heart disease. Is that
yeah, they do different things.
flushes it out?
Yeah, unfortunately,
No?
it's not like they counteract each other.
No.
Not quite so simple.
No.
But the beer does help a little bit. But that's more, I think, like cardiovascular versus the red meat. What is it? I forget. I think it affects your gut biome, and then it promotes certain bacteria. Is one theory that are bad for the heart disease because people look at these correlations. Anyway, I think that's one of the theories I've heard. Maybe not the only theory.
Once I'm reaching a certain age, though, once I get to like 75, it's just all steak all day.
Okay.
Because like after that, it's
Yeah,
like,
no, it's true.
Steak and beer.
It's true. What you really want to do ideally is like live a super healthy life until about 75. That'll probably at that point guarantee you, like at that point you might as well take up smoking. And,
yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's going
Right.
to be like chain smoking, steaks.
Right. But I
And
think
it's-
you have to do like 75 years of like healthy living
good
to
life.
get your body like most of the
Condition.
way there. Yeah, exactly. And then it's like
But what if I get hit by a runaway mad cow driving a Tesla or something? It's like
they do that a lot.
yeah. So I don't know if I can risk it. Like I would miss all that time for eating steaks, like a bone-in ribeye.
Yeah. Oh, they're delicious.
Yeah, they're the best.
I
thing
enjoy
ever.
them. For me it's like a special occasion kind of thing.
Yeah, but the way they melt, you put that.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I got a
like-
question for you, Alex.
Yo, what's up?
The artwork, the rockets there, the weld works, I guess if you
Yeah.
will, the
This-
paint jobs, like the
this is,
decor in here.
Marshall Whitney that did all of our furniture.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he laser cuts. We gave him like a Illustrator file of our logo, and he CNC or laser cut those in.
That's
stuff like
cool.
that.
Lasers.
And then we had Rob Wanners that did all of our graphic design, and then we had Shelby paint that.
Those
Sort
are
of take
cool.
that image and create that kind of background, and then she created one on the front.
Yeah, so I guess there's three murals. If you
Yeah,
will?
so these two were basically we took our logo and we made some design around that one. We did I did constellations because astral kind of means refers to constellations and so forth. So that's why we have our logo with kind of in the constellation.
I like it.
Kind
I
of
like
field.
it.
And then on this last one, Jose found a graphic, another kind of a street artist. I don't know his name. I apologize. I did not interact with him, but he does a different style, kind of graphic style.
Got his
We put
name on there.
Cap Dejan.
there. Yeah.
He's not the Beeson
Captain.
one guy, is he?
No,
I don't know. Somebody keeps that one up. The Beeson one overpass.
Oh, maybe. He's some it's kind of street artist that Jose found that he really liked
It's
his
awesome.
portfolio.
Look.
But yeah, he has like a kind of distinct style. So we just told him hey, use your style, but do something kind of space themed. So he did an astronaut and put the looking back at Earth. I guess maybe that's the EarthRise.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
It all.
Do you have a
Comes
favorite
together, yeah.
constellation?
Growing up, I always liked Orion, but honestly, I think that Men in Black movie kind of turned me off a little bit because then it became like everyone's like, oh, Orion's belt, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's like a little pro hipster, like that's
Yeah.
lame. Everyone likes Orion now, but I liked him because he was like an archer, and I thought he was like a cool warrior. And also, unlike a lot of other constellations, he actually looked like an archer.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other ones are like this, like set of like 4 stars, it's a line, there's a snake, and you're like, well, maybe. Or this one, it's like, you're like, how did they get from like these 3 shapes, like a triangle, up to like this is a castle?
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
But that one's like, no, that's like a person with a bow, and you're like, okay, I can see it in the sky, and it's very evocative
Right.
and stuff
No,
like that.
you never want to say like Big Dipper, Little Dipper, because
Yeah.
that's like, why would you love a spoon?
Aren't those really bears?
Yeah, Ursa Major.
Ursa
and
Major,
Minor.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like it does look like a dipper. It does not look like a bear, but
Yeah.
someone's like,
Unless that dipper's filled with beer.
yeah,
A
a ladle of beer.
Yeah, from like a bucket, like they used to do
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, or it's like a baseball cap turned upside down, maybe.
Either way, go Astros.
Yeah.
Are you a baseball fan?
I don't follow baseball. I mean, I now that I'm here, go Astros.
Yeah.
Not gonna argue. I'm much more of a football fan, and I'm from
Okay.
New Jersey, so go Giants.
Oh, okay. Well,
Or like don't go Cowboys. Sorry, Cowboys fans. But Houston,
No, screw the
Texans.
Cowboys.
Yeah, I have no beef with Texans, so I'll root for Texans when they're playing any team other than the Giants, which is like 99% of the
I think a
time.
loathing of the Cowboys is just enough to come to Houston.
Yeah, I still don't like Cowboys fans, and I see them occasionally here, and I'm like, you're in Houston,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah, I feel like you're not a Cowboys fan.
No. Texans all the way.
There was a
Yeah.
weird time, like when my first year in Houston was the year the season right before the Texans debuted.
So the Oilers were gone, but the Texans hadn't arrived, so there was
Right.
sort of a gap period.
Yeah, they were building Reliance.
And there
were
were
in
people who had
Tennessee
weak hearts
Oilers.
that decided that they were going to root for the Cowboys,
Yeah.
and you've never forgiven
and
them.
you'll still see
And
some
you
Titans fans too. Which is
that's
awesome.
okay.
I'm one of them.
A
Yeah.
Titans fan.
I'm a Titans fan.
That's
yeah.
okay. I mean, I
Absolutely.
respect that. At least
Didn't
it's
you-
the same team.
Yeah, but didn't you hate Bud Adams?
No, I didn't.
You didn't hate Bud Adams for taking
Absolutely
the team away?
not, no.
You understood the whole dynamic?
No, I didn't understand it, but there's nothing I could do about it. But that was my team. But they're going that way.
Yeah, up in Nashville.
But that's my team.
Nashville's
Yeah.
a fine place.
Love Nashville.
Yeah.
Been there a few times.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine.
But then once the Texans came back, you're like,
Absolutely, yes.
although
That's
I have to
my
take,
Houston team. Yes.
take. I don't know that I'm not a big fan of the name of the team. I feel it's a little bit like, well, we ran out of ideas, so let's go with the default one.
Yeah, I know it was an old school name from back in the day that somebody else didn't have an original thought.
Oh, okay.
But still,
Yeah.
like Kansas,
the
the
Oilers,
Chiefs.
I kind of like the Oilers. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Stuff like
I think
that.
Bud
I don't
Adams
know why
had
we
the-
never got it back.
I think Bud Adams gave back the
records, right?
yes, but they didn't give back the name.
That's so weird.
Yeah,
That's a perfect name for.
We're gonna have to-
football
Yeah,
team.
no. I mean, like if they announced like next year we're gonna change our name to the Oilers, I'm like, that's good.
I think everybody'd be like, cool.
Yeah, I don't think
There'd be
people
no
will
issue
complain.
with that.
Yeah, what are they gonna be like? Yeah, like no, it's Texans.
I think everybody just be like, JJ, what do you think? And JJ Watt would be like, okay, and everybody like, cool,
Cool, we're
Yeah.
back.
Whatever JJ Watt says is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's some more jerseys. It's like a win-win. For all the people are like,
Oh.
I need my new JJ in the Oilers jersey.
Yeah, that'd be badass.
So
We just have to bring the Edmonton Oilers here for our NHL team.
Yes. We
yeah.
You big hockey fans? You said you're originally from the north.
No, I never really watched hockey that much.
No? Okay.
Because growing up at New Jersey, we had the Devils. That's the only professional sports team left that still has New Jersey in its
Name?
Yeah.
Because the
Nets
Nets
left,
left, and then the Giants, which play in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, refused. Like
New
York Giants. So I always called them the New York Football Giants of New Jersey because they played in New Jersey.
Yeah, I wonder
so.
why they didn't take the New Jersey Giants.
Well, until the Sopranos
And there's,
came
there's the
around.
Jets too, which play in the same stadium, and you feel like one of them could have been the New Jersey, but like the Jets is more like Long Island and Jersey coast, and then the Giants is more like inland, and like New York's Manhattan, and then inland. So so where I grew up, that would be making me a Giants fan. I was really on the border between so I live in Central Jersey, about an hour from New York. Grew up from an hour from New York and an hour from Philadelphia. So like half my town was like Philly, like Eagles fans, and half of them were Giants fans, and so
big
we're
buddy
right on
fans.
we're right on like the you know.
Yeah, it's big.
It's like maybe like living halfway between here and Dallas, you would be like probably a Cowboys fan or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But it's like that. So we'd have like friends growing up who were like Eagles fans, and then when like they won the Super Bowl, and I was like, God, we always had that over them when they never won a Super Bowl, and then they finally won, and we're like, God,
Yeah, yeah,
I can't just be like, where's the ring, guys?
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
they've had the better team for most of the decade, despite
true.
us winning more Super Bowls than them. They have overall had the better team for sure.
I don't know. Texans get that ring someday.
someday.
Yeah.
Our Astros got it 2 years ago.
Gonna get
Yeah,
it
I
this
mean,
year.
at least they brought something to the city, and you got the Rockets. Have they ever
back
won?
to back? Yeah, well,
94,
back to back.
95, yeah.
We won
94, 95?
Yeah.
Yeah, we won.
Was
two
Yao
minor-
Ming on the team back then, or was that before him? I
No,
don't
that
even
was
know.
Before.
Hakeem Olajuwon. Clyde
Clyde
Drexler
Drexler.
was the second year. That
J.J.
was-
Watt was the big
The
forward.
main thing is Michael Jordan retired.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That must be that gap period where
He
Michael Jordan's
retired
like,
for the whole year and then the half year.
That was
exactly.
those 2 years that we won. But
Yep.
hey, we were the best team in the league that year.
I wish
those
they
2
had,
years.
I wish they had played the Bulls in '96.
Whatever. We played the Knicks and the
finals.
Magic. Whatever. Who cares?
But I'm just saying, as
Magic
far as a
and the
sports
Knicks.
fan, because I was
Yeah.
a Bulls fan, my grandmother lived in Chicago.
Okay.
My grandmother lived in Chicago. So, anyway, before they ever won, I was a.
Okay.
You don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know
Nothing
what
to do with Jordan, right? It was your grandma.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
She's an amazing basketball
Mama
player.
Jordan.
It was mostly Michael Jordan, I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. But,
I mean, to be fair, like LeBron's got LeBron stands that
yeah.
wherever team he goes to, they're going to be that fan of that team.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know that I would have followed Jordan to. I don't know. I was a kid. I was like.
Because he played on the
Bulls.
Wizards.
Well, yeah, the last like 2
Yeah,
years.
but he was way past his prime at that
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
He was. Yeah.
He was more there for.
He was just the guy that pointed and yelled. We're talking about the Bulls.
Yeah.
I accidentally my foot kicked the
This is-
plug.
This is a Bulls podcast.
This has
I don't-
never
I don't know if you guys knew that.
No.
But-
Nah, we'll talk.
Welcome back to the Chicago Bulls.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up
Yeah.
for now.
The
because
Bulls.
We'll come back
The
at
Bulls.
The
NBA.
Beers and the Bulls. That's the name of the
Beer and
podcast.
the Bulls.
The Beers and the Bulls.
I bet I'd probably get more downloads if I went all Bulls
Yeah,
all
like
day.
it's like we're a Houston-based podcast and we talk about Bulls.
Yes.
Everything Bulls.
People like the Bulls here.
We're the Bulls, though. We're the Texans are the Bulls.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Bulls on
Yeah,
Toro.
yeah.
Bulls on parade.
Works its way around.
There's a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the he's like
Yeah,
a,
it's
what's it
riding
called?
the bull.
He's riding the bull.
Bull
yeah.
rider. Sorry, one of our like not main logo, but
a
our
can
sign.
rider.
Yeah, it's like bull riding.
I just
but-
now saw that actually.
Yeah,
To
he's,
tell
and
you the
we
truth.
even
It's a can.
when the graphic designer who's from like Nashville or something like that originally did the design. He had the hand holding the tab, which would have been in the bull riding, holding the rope, I guess, to stay
Yeah.
on. He had it flipped around, and we're like, no,
No,
gotta flip that.
Flip it
That's how
up,
a
yes.
real open up the hand.
Yeah,
hand
palm up.
palm forward. Yeah, palm up. Be like, hey, like we're in Texas. People would we would get comments. People would be like, did you know?
Yeah.
Guys, obviously not from around here.
Your
Yeah.
astronauts riding
Yeah.
the can
Big-
upside with his hand.
Guys wearing big
He's
belt
disqualified.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't be able to make it. So.
All right, so let's. This is your first episode of InterBrews. Let's look forward into the future.
Yeah.
Where do you see Astral Brewing and yourself and everything in the next 5, 10, 25 years? What are your hopes?
Definitely like our long-term goals would be to get. We want to kind of stay like a neighborhood brewery, but I want to get eventually a canning line and have like limited canning. So like try to like do like canning runs. We leave out like sell it out of the brewery for like special beers, and then maybe canning like having our Kolsch in like HEB and Kroger and all those things. And then it'd be nice to get some food here, either with a small kitchen or a permanent food truck.
Yeah.
And we're sort of thinking like a South American menu, like repes and things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of fun food, but that would be kind of cool. And then if we actually get popular, the way for expansion, I wouldn't open like another big brewery. What we would do is open like maybe a satellite location, like down in Montrose or something like that, and we would just serve our beer there, maybe have like guest taps. So kind of think of like a pub with actually like with food and stuff like that, and that would be our goal. I think the way the market's going is like trying to become bigger and bigger and take over and become like a regional distributor is not a realistic business model anymore. You have to accept that the space is going to become more and more crowded, and you just want to carve out local. Like people are going more and more local. They just want to get to their local brewery. So opening expansion where you can have a little spot in a part of the town that doesn't already have a brewery, but they want that kind of local feel. That's probably a better idea rather than trying to like make some big expansion and try to have like cans everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I know you said food.
Yeah.
Permanent food.
Yeah, but put a kitchen in the back.
What about now? Do y'all just kind of have
we have
rotating?
rotating food trucks right now.
Okay.
But it would be nice to have either a permanent food truck or a kitchen, because then you could basically always have people like, hey, we can be open on a Monday and you can get like dinner here, right? You can always guarantee what's there. There's a fixed menu, you have it online, and maybe you could have like discount like Taco Tuesday and like get like a beer and a taco for this some kind of combined price or something like that for the two. Yeah. There's just ways to really synergize the two. If you have permanent, when you have like different rotating food trucks, you get the benefit of having different food available, but at the same time, they're like, oh, do I really want to go to? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And if you want to turn yourself more into a real proper brew pub, having a permanent menu is sort of that's the track you want to go. But it takes a lot of capital to get that going, so that's definitely not going to happen tomorrow. But hopefully down the line we can get that going.
Okay, like a couple weeks, Mike.
Yeah, for sure.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll wrap there because this has been a beefy episode, not pun intended.
Yeah.
I mean, just normal beefy, not genetically altered.
No mad cow.
No mad cow or chicken flavored or beef flavored chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or crickets or whatever. But Alex, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again if you'll have us back out at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. definitely can have you back.
Unless the backlash is so.
Yeah, if we get like a lot of hate on the internet, then I'm going to pretend like you forced me to do this, or some other guy pretending to be did this.
We've had very little hate.
Negative.
Yeah. You could call it negative or hate.
Is that how you measure yourself, like people like you versus people who hate you kind of ratio?
Yeah, we're pretty positive.
That's good.
Very few people have threatened to sue.
You haven't like called out people and be like, I really hate this random, and people are like, what?
Yeah, no, not much
we
of
don't
that.
do that.
No, but yeah, as far as like people just getting angry at the sound of my voice, other than like my kids once in a while or my wife.
Yeah, well, for sure. That's understandable.
Yeah, for the podcast, it's like, it's been pretty good. So we would love to. Yeah, this has been a whole bunch of fun. And congratulations on your brewery.
Yes,
thank you.
Beautiful.
And your delicious beers.
Yes.
And thank you so much for having us out. And everybody
keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. And hopefully we'll see you guys again.
Of course. Yes. So come down to Astral Brewing on Shepherd here in the best brewing section of Houston.
Just north of the loop there.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy to get to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a location. We think we have a pretty good location. So.
Yeah, it's a great location. Yes. And, delicious beers. Yeah. So come check them out if you haven't had a chance to already. Or if you have, come check them out again because always new stuff on tap.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to rotate new things in. So if you haven't been here in a little while, I'm sure there's lots of new stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, for Alex and Mike, I'm Josh. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Last we checked.
That's it. This is InterBrews.
This is InterBrews.
All right, this is the quick reminder where I say if you've made it this far, don't forget about that Patreon page. I'm not going to go into all the details, but, if you want to, support. And if not, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time, everybody. Toodaloo.
The preceding has been a presentation of Stewed Productions.